Alex R. Wagner, and we cover the news at least 3 hours every single day. Every single day. And today is day one of this ceasefire plan, guys. Got this ceasefire going on. Ceasing the fires. How's everybody feeling? Poll of the day, day 15. Who will be president in 2028? Day 15 of poll. Okay. Will it be J.D. Vance? He's looking awfully good right now lately with 12 wins. Gavin Newsom with 2 wins. Or, we got to double check the Kelchi polls. Double check the Kelchi polls. Got to double check the Kelchi polls. Make sure the Kelchi's correctly Kelchi. And I'm going to open up my live chat as well. Sorry, guys. Just opened it up. Double tap, hit that like button, y'all. We getting groovy. Grooving up in here. All right. Marco Rubio's and AOC now at 7%, y'all. Wow. Okay. So, Marco Rubio and AOC again. Day 15 of the poll. Put the poll in the pollsters. Get your poll on. Get your poll on, y'all. It is the day. All right, I'm gonna be watching the news, but I'm also gonna be munching on my fucking dinner because got low numbers, low viewership, low everything this week. It's just kind of a low, stagnant time. So let's get at it. Get at it. I do wanna. Excuse me. I should be on my own feed. You would think. What the fuck? The fuck? Why am I not on my own feed? For you. For me. For myself. There's my content. It's right there. It's live. It's live. Why am I not? That's some bullshit. Alright, well, anyway, here we go. Lunch, you bet. Whoa, Megyn Kelly, huh? Oh shit! Y'all aren't letting me know that I ain't even got the fucking video up. Sorry, guys. Woohoo! I'm just watching myself. Watching myself, paying attention to myself. Well, that's not it. Where is it? There we go. Come on, baby. Get me back here. What's going on? Slow day here, too. There we go. There we go. All right, now we're back.
Dave, the deal sounds very much like surrender on our part, which I'm in favor of. I mean, great. This needed to end. Ugly or any other way. It needed to end. It was folly to begin with. It was folly.
Whoa, Jerry. They're just laughing outside, buddy. Nothing going on there. Chill out.
Throughout, it remains folly.
Like
I'm sure Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham were feeling really, really good until the end part where we had to end it. And now they're very, very angry. Mark Levin was practically in tears on Fox News last night because we didn't see it through, I guess, with the nuclear bomb that we were going to drop on Iran. We didn't go in commando style and seize all the uranium. We allowed, according to the Israelis, according to the Iranians, that is, the war against Hezbollah to stop, which he wants seen through. He would love to see Lebanon completely bombed and to be made to look like Gaza. And there was really no point to going forward other than more death and destruction. The Iranians proved to be tough MFers. And they realized that they had something far more powerful than a nuclear bomb. They had control over the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump was warned prior to getting involved in this conflict by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs that they were not likely to collapse easily and that they probably would maintain control of the strait and could cause a global economic panic.
She's kind of
and he didn't listen.
over it, though. So that's
what he
like
did
weird.
with the Dan Kane warnings was rush to Truth Social.
It's
Trump
like so
did,
anti-American.
saying all Dan Kane knows how to do is win, and if I tell him to invade, he's going to win. Well, that's not really what happened. There was never any question we could decimate their Navy or their Air Force. Of course, no one would ever second guess the power of the U.S. military. It's pristine and it's impeccable and it's truly awe-striking. But these battles in the Middle East have been fought now for 20 plus years, and we continue to learn the same lesson over and over.
No. I think shit's over and Democrats are going to act like it's not over now. That's what I think's up next. That's what I think is happening next, y'all.
If you are a Christian and still suffer from type 2 diabetes, I am going to teach you right now the recipe that empties.
OK, welcome along. Look, we are potentially expecting a live press conference between President Trump and Mark Rutte, the leader of NATO. However, that might have been thrown into doubt because it appears that President Trump is discussing the possibility of America withdrawing entirely from NATO. We will obviously bring you the details on that as we get it. But Keir Starmer is patting himself on the back over a ceasefire he had nothing to do with.
The fucking war, Ronnie.
Work to do. It's early days. There is a real sense, I think, of relief. You could feel it at the base here in Saudi Arabia. For 39 days, they've been acting in our collective self-defense. You can feel the relief. But what they want to know, what people in the United Kingdom want to know, who will share that relief, is that this needs to be permanent. And it's our job to work with other countries in the region.
Our? This motherfucker joining now all of a sudden? Am I forgetting something here?
Not only on the cessation of hostilities, but also on opening the Strait of Hormuz.
I mean, no one's taking him seriously. Putin has literally just sailed a warship through the channel, escorting sanctioned Russian oil tankers because he knows that Keir Starmer's going to do nothing about it. So there's that, isn't there? But what ceasefire? Is there even a ceasefire?
Britain's not feeling the bullshit. They ain't feeling it.
Physical gold is disappearing from the global market at the fastest rate in history, while the mainstream media keeps the public.
I have to be optimistic. And the other thing is...
He's talking about peace, the thing your president destroyed.
This was an AI tech war. There were some boots on the ground rescuing those F-15 fighters, but the rest of this was precision munitions from space and all kinds of different ways to use it. What we've learned, warfare is changing, and the country with the best AI is going to win. Just think about China. If they attack Taiwan, if you've got data centers and you've got AI, you win. So we better go chop and catch up with the Chinese guys.
Yeah, you've been big on that for a long time. I just want to put this up on the screen.
Sell, guys. The AI is going to take over.
The U.S. Treasury's new digital payout mandate is a direct threat to the autonomy of Social Security recipients
NATO or a paper tiger, like Trump said? True, but I don't like the word paper tiger anymore. I think it's gay. I think we need to just call them little bitches, because that's what they are. They're just little bitches. They're useless little bitches. What is that? Useless, U, little, L, bitches. ULBs. They're ULBs. NATO is a ULB. Much better than a paper tiger. They're a ULB. A useless son of a bitch.
Our viewers, your reaction. Normally, when you have this amount of geopolitical conflict, this amount of geopolitical risk, years ago, I would have guessed that oil prices would be up at $200, and the equity markets would still be spooked. We're in the middle of this ceasefire. What say you?
Well, we have some factors on our side. Number one, most people think now within 8 weeks this thing will be resolved one way or another, some kind of a deal in keeping the strait open, maybe multinational, we don't know. However, we have something working for us that we've never had before in the last 18 months. AI has proven to be a powerful metric inside the S&P 500 and globally for margin enhancement and productivity in a way that no one saw coming.
Meaning that's providing strength in this market?
In every sector of the economy, all 11 sectors. And if you look historically, to have really an effect on the economy towards a recession on energy prices, you need oil at above 95 for at least 3 months. I don't think it's going to stay there. It's going to go back to the 70s pretty soon. We saw the shock today on the downside. Oil traders got caught offside. I mean, I have to be optimistic. And
pretty sure we just like literally won a war, like a national war, like a world war.
Gold's breakout at $5,000 was just the piece. According to the new math used by Jim Rickards and Robert Kiyosaki, the U.S.
I actually think, and there's a lot of bad faith negotiation and a lot of bad faith, propaganda going on. I think this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case. What we said is that the ceasefire would be focused on Iran and the ceasefire would be focused on America's allies.
That's not what you said. You didn't win shit. Okay. Tell that to the loser.
Both Israel and the Gulf Arab states.
That's some bullshit. That's some bullshit, though. Actually, we didn't say that we wouldn't bomb the fuck out of Lebanon. Excuse me, you said ceasefire. America, you did say ceasefire.
The Israelis, as I understand it, again, I'm supposed to get a fuller report when I get on the plane, have actually offered to be, frankly, to check themselves a little bit in Lebanon because they want to make sure that our negotiation is successful. That's not because that is...
I'm not liking our future president of the United States. Bro is on a plane in Hungary campaigning for the Hungarian president to get reelected, gets off the fucking plane, comes over to the press and is like, Lebanon wasn't part of the ceasefire of the Middle East with Iran. We just said that we would just not bomb Iran. This fucking guy's a weasel. Guy's a fucking weasel. Fucking
part
weasel.
Of the ceasefire. I think that's the Israelis trying to set us up for success, and we'll, of course, see how that unfolds in the next few days. But, look, if Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them and which the United States never once said was part of the ceasefire, that's ultimately their choice. We think that would be dumb, but that's their choice.
Ceasefire is a ceasefire, bro. You shouldn't be blowing shit up if you fucking ceasefiring.
For those over age 60, a major...
Shouldn't be blowing shit up if you ceasefiring. I'm just saying, man. You really shouldn't.
I actually think, and there's a lot of bad faith negotiation and a lot of bad faith, propaganda going on. I think this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon and...
Fuck you, JD. Fuck you. That's some bullshit. We about to see a Trump daddy lost for a day. Just hit 50 on the live chat. Double tap. Hit that like button. Get people into the poll for our poll of the day. Our poll of the day every day is the same poll. 12 minutes in. We got 48 minutes left. 42 votes. JD Vance, 40%. Gavin Newsom, 36%. Looks like we're going to have a runoff once again. Weird. I'm like hearing weird stuff.
It just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case. What we said is that the ceasefire would be focused on Iran and the ceasefire would be focused on America's allies, both Israel and the Gulf Arab states.
Did you say that or did you just say ceasefire? Pretty sure you just said ceasefire.
That said, the Israelis, as I understand it, again, I'm supposed to get a fuller report when I get on the plane, have actually offered to be, frankly, to check themselves a little bit in Lebanon because they want to make sure that our negotiation is successful.
Yeah, but
that's not because that is part of the ceasefire. I think that's the Israelis trying to set us up for success, and we'll, of course, see how that unfolds in the next few days. But, look, if Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them and which the United States never once said was... I will say this. To his defense on that negotiation tactic,
This is all fallen to Iran's favor. If this thing ends, it's in Iran's favor. Also, Trump wants to get the fuck out because he realizes what it is, which is a forever war, and the longer that they stay at war, the worse it becomes for him. So, it's like, their advantage right now to take any kind of offer that's on the table.
The real reason you're stiff after sitting.
You can live a very long time without.
What is the purpose of your visit here in the Gulf? What kind of influence do you think you can have?
Well, we've just reached this ceasefire, which is both welcome and I think there'll be a sense of real relief.
I said this earlier, but like, we?
There certainly is across the region and for the United Kingdom.
Glad you aren't a blind mega supporter at least. We reached the ceasefire? Mr. UK? Mr. I don't want to get involved? I just see the bullshit, Rodney. I just see the bullshit. The VP really thinks he's a emo middle school kid? I think it might be.
What I mean. So in the past couple of days, I've seen a lot of reporting from the American media about the 10-point proposal that the Iranians have made. Now, as I know, because I've been involved in this, there are 3 different 10-point proposals at least that I've seen floating around. The first 10-point proposal was something that was submitted, and we think, frankly, was probably written by ChatGPT, that was submitted to Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. That immediately went in the garbage and was rejected. There was a second 10-point proposal that was much more reasonable, that was based on some back and forth between us, between the Pakistanis and Indians. That is the
Why would anyone get involved with an illegal war?
10-point proposal that the president was referencing.
I don't know. Why would China tell everybody stop?
And then, frankly, I've seen a third 10-point
Why would China tell everybody stop?
That's even more maximalist than the first 10-point proposal that's been floating around.
Why would China tell everybody, including Iran, to listen?
Here's what's interesting about all this, is that I've seen various organs, the New York Times, CNN, others, pick up and run the original 10-point proposal based on little more than a random Yahoo in Iran submitting it to public access television in the country of Iran, and then them saying that somehow represents the negotiating position of the government.
Maybe. But she's losing every single night. And is she not losing again? And she's losing again. Get your fucking AOC votes in, guys. 42% for J.D. Vance. 32% for Gavin. Who is our third party tonight? Did we get a third partier tonight? We don't have a third partier tonight, guys. Recommend your third parties if you got them. Throw them in there. Throw them in there. Let's take a gander at this guy. White House Daily Briefing. White House Daily Briefing. Briefing the dailies.
Everything is getting more expensive.
Hit that like button if you're just joining us. If you hit subscribe, you'll get sent the news every single day. We're live every single day with the news, at least 3 hours, raw, unfiltered, every single day. And hit that join button, because if you hit that join button, $3 a month, you get 17 feature films right there on the YouTube channel page. And you also become a North Korean, one of 50 plus members of our North Koreans. And when we hit 20,000 subscribers, which we're less than 400 subscribers away, that day, it'll be members only, y'all. It'll be a members only live stream that entire night. So get in now, $3. Become a North Korean comrade. Let's do it. We got 2 Nicholas Maduros. We got 2 graduates, too. 2 Nicholases. Pretty soon they'll be Cuban. Strait was open for 47 years. Now the U.S. is pleading to keep it open.
Before I discuss the ceasefire with Iran, I have a quick update from the First Lady of the United States. Yesterday marked the very first conviction under the Take It Down Act, landmark legislation that First Lady Melania Trump played an instrumental role in getting passed that protects victims from non-consensual AI-generated sexually explicit images, cyber stalking, and threats of violence. This is a huge achievement for the First Lady, and I know the President is very proud of his wife's efforts in getting this critical legislation passed to protect America's youth. So we thank the First Lady for her efforts, and we hope that others will report on this historic conviction yesterday. With respect to the 2-week ceasefire announced by President Trump last night, this is a victory for the United States of America that the president and our incredible military made happen. From the very beginning of Operation Epic Fury, President Trump stated this would be a 4 to 6 week military operation to dismantle the military threat posed by the radical Islamic Iranian regime. Thanks to the unbelievable capabilities of America's war fighters, the United States has achieved and exceeded those core military objectives in just 38 days.
Baby. Didn't I not tell you? Did I not say, if I'm sipping a margarita and it's over? Now, I don't trust it. We still got a little bit of time left. But remember, people, Cinco de Mayo. I said I would give Daddy Trump until Cinco de Mayo to end the war with Iran. The motherfucker about to do it. Payback is a bitch. Wrong Sims again.
Destroyed Iran's defense industrial base, crushing the regime's ability to manufacture weapons that they and their proxies use to maim and kill Americans and terrorize the world. Iran's ability to build and stockpile ballistic missiles and long-range drones has also been set back by years compared to where it was 6 weeks ago prior to the launch of Operation Epic Fury. We destroyed the vast majority of Iran's ballistic missiles, launcher vehicles, and long-range attack drones through more than 450 strikes on ballistic missiles and approximately 800 strikes on Iran's drone launching units and storage facilities. In total, more than 13,000 targets across Iran were struck. Again, this is in the matter of just 38 days.
Over 100. Make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe. We cover the news live every day, at least 3 hours every single day, y'all. And if you join now, we got over 50 members. And we are 400 subscribers away from that 20,000. And on that 20,000 subscribers, we will be a members-only live stream, y'all. So get in now. $3 a month. Become a North Korean. Become one of 52 of us. We got 2 Nicolas Maduros. You graduate every month to a new country. Help support the show. Appreciate you all. Back to the White House.
Navy was completely annihilated. The United States destroyed more than 150 naval vessels in total, including 16 entire classes of Iranian warships. Despite once being the largest undersea force in the Middle East, Iran now has 0 submarine vessels. 97% of Iran's once massive inventory of more than 5,000 naval mines has also been targeted and destroyed. Iran's air forces are functionally and operationally irrelevant at this point, after the United States maintained total air dominance over their country for weeks on end. To underscore the significance of this, before Operation Epic Fury, the Iranian Air Force would fly between 30 to 100 flights per day. Today, that number is 0. Iran's ability to fund and support its terrorist proxies has been greatly reduced. At this point, Iran can no longer distribute weapons to its proxies in the region. And most importantly, Iran will not be able to acquire nuclear weapons. Prior to the start of this successful operation, Iran was aggressively expanding its short-range ballistic missile arsenal. Through these weapons and its navy, Iran was attempting to build a military buildup around their country that would pose an imminent and existential threat to the United States military assets in the Middle East, our allies in the region, and ultimately the free world. Iran was pursuing this dangerous and aggressive strategy for one reason: to hold the entire world hostage to its terrorist ambitions. The Iranians aim to use their expanded military capabilities as a shield around their country to continue achieving their ultimate goal internally, building nuclear bombs. But their murderous and evil plans have been blown up, quite literally and figuratively, along with their military, their nuclear program, and most of their senior leadership, including the former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Their command and control structures were also massively disrupted after being struck more than 2,000 times. Many of their remaining leaders are paralyzed in fear and no longer enjoy the freedom to move around their country freely and meet openly. Thanks to the unmatched excellence of our warriors at the direction of the Commander-in-Chief, the world has just witnessed a historically swift and successful military triumph. President Trump started Operation Epic Fury with strategic military objectives, and the United States has clearly achieved them. As we mark this progress, we also remember and honor the 13 American heroes who laid down their lives in this noble effort. I know President Trump and our grateful nation honors their ultimate sacrifice, and we will never forget them. May God bless their families. The valiant efforts of all of our incredible service members created maximum leverage for the President of the United States, allowing he and his leadership team to engage in tough negotiations over the past couple of weeks that have now created an opening for a diplomatic solution and long-term peace in the Middle East. The President's maximum pressure and the leverage created by the success of Operation Epic Fury led to the Iranian regime asking for and ultimately agreeing to a ceasefire proposal with the United States. Iran could no longer tolerate being bombed or taking the gamble of what was to come following President Trump's 8 p.m. deadline last night. Iran has agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz, and as the President said, we have received a proposal from the Iranians that has been determined to be a workable basis on which to negotiate. I've seen a lot of inaccurate coverage today from the media about these negotiations and these plans already, so let me be clear and correct the record. The Iranians originally put forward a 10-point plan that was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. It was literally thrown in the garbage by President Trump and his negotiating team. Many outlets in this room have falsely reported on that plan as being acceptable to the United States, and that is false. With the President's deadline fast approaching and the United States military completely decimating Iran with each passing hour, the regime acknowledged reality to the negotiating team. They put forward a more reasonable and entirely different and condensed plan to the President and his team. President Trump and the team determined the new modified plan was a workable basis on which to negotiate and to align it with our own 15-point proposal. The President's red lines, namely the end of Iranian enrichment in Iran, have not changed. And the idea that President Trump would ever accept an Iranian wish list as a deal is completely absurd. The President will only make a deal that serves in the best interests of the United States of America, and he is a negotiating team will focus on this effort over the next 2 weeks, so long as the Strait of Hormuz remains open with no limitations or delays. These extraordinarily sensitive and complex negotiations will take place behind closed doors over the course of the next 2 weeks. I would strongly advise the media against running with narratives that have no basis in fact. What Iran says publicly or feeds to all of you in the press is much different than what they communicate to the United States, the President, and his team privately. Never underestimate President Trump's ability to successfully advance America's interests and broker peace. President Trump has a proven track record of achieving good deals on behalf of the United States and the American people, and he will only accept one that puts America first. With that, I will take your questions today. I'm sure you have a lot of them. In our new media seat, we have Shane Harris with the AMAC Newsline. Shane, thank you for being here. Why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Caroline. 2 questions for you. First, following the President's announcement of the ceasefire, if this is indeed the end of hostilities in Iran, what is the President's message to the American people about what was achieved for our country through Operation Epic Fury?
Sure. I think I just laid out a significant portion of that in my opening remarks. 6 weeks ago, the President looked the American people in the eye directly, and he told them that he launched this operation to take out the imminent threat that was posed by Iran. And that threat has now been greatly destroyed. Their Navy, their missiles, their defense industrial base, and their desire and their plan to build a nuclear bomb inside their country is no longer going to be allowed, can no longer happen, thanks to the remarkable success of Operation Epic Fury over the course of the last 38 days. That has been absolutely achieved, and now we're moving into the next phase of this, which is a negotiating period to put some fine points on this and to hopefully broker an agreement that can achieve long-term peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, and then second, what is the President's message to American seniors who have a much higher voter participation rate and they're likely to be a key swing vote in the midterm elections?
Well, the President loves our seniors across the country, and as you know, the President signed the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, last year. which greatly reduced taxes on Social Security for our seniors. In fact, thanks to the Working Families Tax Cut, nearly 90% of seniors will no longer pay tax on their Social Security. That's a huge win for our seniors and also for our middle class and working families across the country with the no tax on tips provision and the no tax on overtime. Next week is tax week. You'll hear a lot from the president about how his policies have benefited the American people, and I'm proud to report that the president will be traveling next week to the great states of Nevada and Arizona to tout this historic accomplishment over the course of the next week. Thank you for being here, Shane. Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Iranian state media is saying that Iran has now closed off the Strait of Hormuz today in response to Israeli attacks on Lebanon. What's the White House response to that? And you just listed many military successes. I understand that. But strategically, how is the administration arguing that Iran does not have more economic leverage than it did before the start of the war?
Sure. Well, with respect to the first reporting out of Iranian state media, the president was made aware of those reports before I came to the podium. That is completely unacceptable. And again, this is a case of what they're saying publicly is different privately. We have seen an uptick of traffic in the Strait today, and I will reiterate the president's expectation and demand that the Strait of Hormuz is reopened immediately, quickly, and safely. That is his expectation. It has been relayed to him privately that is what's taking place, and these reports publicly are false.
Caroline, the president yesterday threatened that a whole civilization would die if a ceasefire deal wasn't reached, understanding that Iranian leaders have previously said death to America. But why is it appropriate for the president of the United States to use that kind of language when talking about civilian targets? And was the president mocking Islam by signing off his True Social post over the weekend, praise be to Allah? Wouldn't that antagonize Muslim allies across the world?
Well, I understand the questions about the president's rhetoric, but what the president cares most about is results. And in fact, his very tough rhetoric and his tough negotiating style is what has led to the result that you are all witnessing today.
Double tap. Hit that like button, y'all. If you hit that like button, you send people onto the algorithm for our poll of the day. Our poll of the day. Whoa, 170, 173, 174, 180, 182 votes. We got 182 votes, 30 minutes left of the poll. J.D. Vance, 46%. Gavin Newsom, 30%. And stay tuned, y'all. Here we go. Keeping it back.
Iran publicly acknowledging last night that they have agreed or that they wanted this ceasefire with the United States because they no longer could tolerate being bombed by our very powerful and lethal military, and that they have committed to the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which the president will hold them accountable for, and it's something the administration is closely monitoring in real time.
So,
Danny.
Should the world not take his word seriously?
The world should take his word very seriously in understanding that the president is always most interested in results. And it was the Iranians who backed down, not President Trump. He said that they would face very grave consequences, as you just laid out, by the 8 p.m. deadline if they did not agree to reopening the Strait of Hormuz. And what did they do last night? They agreed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Danny.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. Would President Trump like to see Lebanon included in this peace deal? As you know, there have been increased Israeli strikes on Lebanon today with dozens of casualties there.
Sure. Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire. That has been relayed to all parties involved in the ceasefire.
I don't like that part. That part I'm like, go fuck yourself. The fact that you even entertained the thought of leaning NATO's shows just how much damage Trump has done to your way of thinking. Putin is your nemesis, and he's had zero pushback from Trump, which he'll love. Okay, I think Putin is your nemesis because you're a Democrat. I don't see Putin as the nemesis. J.D. Vance, a man that wears eyeliner and high heel shoes. No wonder you people like him so much. Thank you, Mr. Trump. Howler, welcome back. Good day, Mr. Wagner. And I would trust the Democrat first. Remember, guys, you can double tap, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. When you hit that subscribe, just like Howler, though, over here, you can join for $3 a month. 17 feature films right there. Instant access on the YouTube channel page. And you also become a North Korean. We have over 50 North Koreans. We have less than 400 subscribers until our members-only live stream when we hit 20,000. Don't miss out. Who knows? It might be a big news day, and you'll miss out on the news. If you're not in the club, become a comrade now.
Prime Minister Netanyahu put out a statement last night in support of the ceasefire, in support of the United States' efforts, and he's also assured the president he'll continue to be a helpful partner throughout the course of the next 2 weeks.
Is there any thought, though, that the president might like to see Lebanon included in a future date, given that it seems to be causing or potentially undermining the Iran ceasefire?
Again, this will continue to be discussed, I am sure, between the President and Prime Minister Netanyahu, the United States and Israel, and all of the parties involved. But at this point in time, they're not included in the ceasefire deal. Jeff.
Thank you. Caroline, will the U.S. take part in talks with Iran in Islamabad on Friday?
I can announce that the President is dispatching his negotiating team, led by the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Witkoff, and Mr. Kushner to Islamabad for talks this weekend. The first round of those talks will take place on Saturday morning local time, and we know we look forward to those in-person meetings.
What role does the President see for the U.S. in monitoring or helping with the Strait of Hormuz going forward?
I think the President commented on that this morning. We're going to continue to monitor it very, very closely. We will be helpful in any way that we can, but we fully expect Iran to do this, and the President has made that quite clear as well. It's, again, as his statement said last night, this ceasefire is subject to the safe reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Again, this was just determined last night. We understand things take time, but that's the President's expectation, and he will hold everyone to it. Sure, in the green blazer.
Thank you, Carol.
Sure, and then in front of you. But Andrew, you can go ahead. You're not wearing a green blazer.
Some people in the algorithm for the poll
It's a
of
little
the
brown to
day.
me, but go ahead.
Poll of the day!
Fair enough.
126 live.
Regarding the president's rhetoric, when the U.S. invaded Iraq in 2003, George W. Bush said in a message to the Iraqi people that the military campaign was directed, quote, against the lawless men who rule your country and not against you. Yesterday, the president threatened to destroy Iran's civilization, the entire civilization. Not the Iranian government, but the Iranian civilization, the Iranian people. The U.S. has been a moral leader for most of its history by fighting wars against other governments, not against civilizations. How can the president claim that America can ever have the moral high ground if he's threatening to destroy civilizations and not casting wars as fights against other governments?
Andrew, I think you should take a look at the actions of this president over the course of the past 6 weeks and the actions of our brave men and women in our United States military who have taken out essentially taken out the military of a rogue Islamic regime that has chanted death to America for 47 years, that has killed and maimed thousands of American soldiers over the course of the last 5 decades. The president absolutely has the moral high ground over the Iranian terrorist regime, and for you to even suggest otherwise is frankly insulting.
With all due respect, Caroline,
go ahead.
with all due respect,
go ahead.
There is
just given what we've seen in Lebanon today and the increased attacks from Israel. I mean, is there any concern that Netanyahu is trying to kill the ceasefire?
The president spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu last night, and in that private conversation, Prime Minister Netanyahu relayed exactly what he said to the world publicly, that he supports the president, and Israel remains a key ally and partner to the United States. They've been a tremendous partner over the course of the past 6 weeks, and we thank them for their heroic efforts as well. And the president had that conversation last night, and that was relayed to the world publicly as well. Reagan, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I have a question for you on Iran, and I have a question on the Dignity Act as well. On Iran, it's been reported that the ceasefire was struck after the involvement of 2 unlikely factors, J.D. Vance and China. What role did those parties play in striking the deal?
Well, Vice President Vance has played a very significant and a key role in this since the very beginning. Of course, he's the president's right-hand man. He is the Vice President of the United States. He's been involved in all of these discussions, and as I just announced, he'll be leading this new phase of negotiations in Islamabad later this week. With respect to China, there were conversations that took place between top levels of our government and China's government. The president has great respect for President Xi and a great working relationship with him and with that country, and he looks forward to visiting China in just a few weeks.
On the Dignity Act, it's getting a fresh push through Congress.
We call no dibs on Lebanon. Sorry, guys.
In the country a path to citizenship. What's the White House's position on this legislation, and would the president sign it if it made it to his desk?
Honestly, Reagan, I haven't spoken to the president about the legislation, but I will have that conversation and we'll get you our formal position on it as soon as we can. You're welcome. Go ahead.
The president suggested this morning that he would support a joint U.S.-Iran venture to charge tolls for ships going through the strait. Does the president believe that the U.S. should earn revenue from the Strait of Hormuz going forward?
It's an idea the president has floated, as you know, and it's something that will continue to be discussed over the course of the next 2 weeks. But the immediate priority of the president is the reopening of the strait without any limitations, whether in the form of tolls or otherwise.
And on the highly enriched uranium, has Iran given the administration any indication that it would simply turn over the enriched uranium, or is this an expectation that the president has that he would have to send in ground troops in order to do that?
This is on the top of the priority list for the president and his negotiating team as they head into this next round of discussions. And as I said in my opener, that is a red line that the president is not going to back away from, and he's committed to ensuring that takes place. We hope it will be through diplomacy.
But have they given any indication that they would turn it over?
They have.
They have?
Yes. Trevor.
The latest news out of Iran is that the air defenses have been activated in several cities, including Isfahan, and that explosions have been heard in Isfahan. Who is bombing Iran right now?
Were those reports just as of a few minutes ago? Okay, so obviously I'll have to go back and check with the national security team. I'm standing out here with all of you, but I will do that and we will get you an answer, okay?
And just on the civilization question that we've been talking about.
And I would just add to that point, again, I haven't seen these reports. I'm not verifying them. Not that I don't trust you, Trevor, but I want to go back and check with the experts here at the White House. I would just say, and I would echo what the Vice President said this morning, this is a fragile truce. Ceasefires are fragile by nature. We've seen this with respect to the 12-day war with Iran and Israel last year. It takes time sometimes for these ceasefires to be fully effectuated. And one of the results of Operation Epic Fury was we completely dismantled Iran's command and control center, which makes it difficult for them to pass messages up and down the chain. And so we understand that. I would caution a little bit of patience, but of course we want to see the ceasefire effectuated and abided by all parties as quickly as possible.
Thank you. And the American presidential administrations, going back to Ronald Reagan, have said this formulation about nuclear war, that a nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. Is that still the view of this administration, given the president's comments about civilization?
I have no change in our view on that policy. Katie.
Caroline, I'm just, given the gravity of what he said yesterday, what was your understanding of what he meant when he said, this civilization is going to be eliminated?
Why is it that the woke retards can't comprehend Trumpism? Like, it's starting to get, like, really annoying. Like, they're like, I can't believe you said that. How many fucking times are you going to say, I can't believe you said that? Just shut the fuck up with your shock and awe. It's fucking retarded. It's completely baseless.
I think
Epic Fury is such a cool name. The next one should be Operation 360 No Scope.
It was a very, very strong threat from the President of the United States that led the Iranian regime to cave to their knees. And
we told them to keep them home. Brother Trump was on a TV a week ago begging Europe
asked for a ceasefire and agreed to reopening the Strait of Hormuz. So it was a very strong threat that led to results. And as the Secretary of War stated at the Pentagon this morning, it was not an empty threat by any means. The Pentagon had a target list that they were ready to hit go on at 8 p.m. last night if the Iranian regime had not agreed to open the strait, which they did. And I think that's something we should all be grateful for.
The United States is a moral leader in the world, given that
I was asked this exact same question by your colleague Andrew in the back, and I think, again, the insinuation by anyone in this room that Iran somehow has the moral high ground over the United States of America is insulting, considering the atrocities that they have, committed against our people and our military over the past 5 decades. John, go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. 2 questions for you. One has to do with a statement, a joint statement put out this morning by some of America's European allies, our NATO allies. And in that joint statement, they said regarding the Strait of Hormuz, our governments will contribute to ensuring freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. What's the administration's reaction to that joint statement? Does that smooth things over when the president meets with NATO Secretary General a little bit later this afternoon?
I have a direct quote from the President of the United States on NATO, and I will share it with all of you. They were tested and they failed. And I would add, it's quite sad that NATO turned their backs on the American people over the course of the last 6 weeks, when it's the American people who have been funding their defense. As you know, President Trump will be meeting with Secretary Rutte in a couple of hours here at the White House, and I know he looks forward to having a very frank and candid conversation with him.
And then secondly, in regards to this conflict, 38 days, as you pointed out, President Trump has said that there's been regime change. Has that regime change led to more freedoms for the Iranian people?
I think that's a question that's being asked a little bit too early, John, and we hope that is the case, but it's something that has yet to be seen. Eamon.
Caroline, on this tolling by the Iranians in the Strait of Hormuz, I've heard you talk about a number of red lines that the president has in this negotiation, but I haven't heard you say that Iranian tolling in the Strait of Hormuz is a red line. Would it be acceptable to the United States at the end of all this if the Iranians are able to charge tolls in the Strait of Hormuz?
I think the president was very clear and simplistic in his language last night in his Truth Social post, where he said that this ceasefire is subject to the free, safe, and immediate reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. That's very plain language, and it should be taken at face value. Carrie, go ahead. Without limitation, including tolls, yes.
Quick follow-up on the tolling. Why would the U.S. allow Iran to collect tolls in the Strait of Hormuz? That's not something that we've opposed for a number of years now.
Again, that's not something we've said that we've definitively accepted. The joint venture is something that was proposed by the president, but he was very clear in his statement last night. He wants to see the strait reopened immediately without limitation, and that's something we're going to hold them to.
A second question
on family and friends in Iran. I myself am Iranian, and I've been talking to them through the blackout. One of my family members yesterday said goodbye to me. So what message should we be sending Iranians when they message me saying, what should they be doing right now? How should they stay safe? Because they really don't know what to do.
I am a victim. I can't believe Donald Trump said something.
I think the president's main priority, and my main priority as his spokeswoman, is to make sure that clear messages are sent to the American people, of course, which is my job today. With respect to the Iranian people, the president, has taken out the imminent threat that was posed by their military to the United States, to our allies in the region, to our forces in the region, and of course, as the president has long said, he hopes that Iran will be a country of peace, of prosperity, and we're moving into this next round of negotiations to hopefully come to an agreement with this new regime that will create long-term stability in the Middle East.
He has said that they should stay inside of their homes and also take back their country. So there's a contradiction there. So how do you address that?
Again, we're moving into this next round of negotiations with the remnants of the regime and those that we are speaking with now to hopefully reach a place of peace long-term for the region, and that includes the Iranian people as well. In the blue, go ahead.
Thank you, Carly. The White House posted the statement from the Iranian government that passage in the strait will be coordinated with Iran's armed forces. As of today, who controls the Strait of Hormuz?
Again, these statements were put out 12 hours ago. We expect that the strait will be opened immediately. As I've said earlier, we have seen an uptick in traffic in the strait, and it's something that we are monitoring minute by minute, hour by hour as the days go on.
It'll be the 17th.
One on the deportations of Iranian officials, and then on the negotiations. Are there still security concerns about Vice President Vance being part of these peace talks, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner? And then two, given the ongoing deportation of General Soleimani's niece, does the Trump administration plan to deport more?
It's not open, LOL. It's not open. Are you watching the live feed? Is that it?
Certainly, anyone who is here fraudulently.
I'm telling you guys, it's not open.
Individuals who their visa was revoked by Secretary Rubio and they were deported by ICE. They had a fraudulent asylum claim. That's against the laws of the United States. So anyone who is here illegally or fraudulently is subject to our nation's immigration laws and will be removed from our country. And I know this continues to be a top priority for the State Department, working in conjunction with the Department of Homeland Security. With respect to the safety of the Vice President, we fully trust the United States Secret Service to do their job, to keep the Vice President and the President's negotiating team safe. They do a tremendous job, and we fully trust them to do that.
Caroline.
In the back, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. The President has said Cuba is next. What's the message to the American people regarding Cuba, and what can Cubans expect in relation to this statement?
Well, look, I think when President Trump said that, and he later clarified after making that statement, that he meant the Cuban regime is bound to fall. The country is very weak. They're in a very weak position economically, obviously, financially. The Cuban people are fed up with their government, as they should be. And these talks and discussions continue to happen at the highest level of our government. I don't have any updates or announcements for you with respect to Cuba policy today. Good to see you.
Thank you, Caroline. Secretary Hegseth said this morning that U.S. troops would be sticking around. Can you expound upon that, what we should expect from U.S. troops in theater for the next 2 weeks and beyond?
I would defer you to the Pentagon for any specifics on assets that have been in place in the Middle East, but take the Secretary at his word, and also the President has reiterated this as well in his own words, that we're not going to move anything immediately. Again, this is a 2-week ceasefire where we hope at the end, and we expect at the end, we'll have a good agreement between the United States and Iran, but in the meantime, we're going to ensure that our military is always at the ready of the Commander-in-Chief. I'll take a couple more in the back. Sure.
Thank you.
On NATO, I'll take your question. Go
Thank you,
ahead.
Caroline. On NATO, can you tell me, is the United States still considering withdrawing from NATO? Is that still a possibility?
It's something the President has discussed, and I think it's something the President will be discussing in a couple of hours with Secretary General Ruta, and perhaps you'll hear directly from the President following that meeting later this afternoon. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, shit. Just disappeared out of it. Peace, motherfuckers. Bye. See ya. See you later. That's what she said. She went, see you later. Mr. JD.
Proposal, hospitable and so kind. What's the main camera? Is it this one? Yes. Okay, sounds good. So we just had a great trip to Hungary, and first of all, I want to thank Viktor Orban, and most of all, I want to thank the Hungarian people for being so hospitable and so kind. We came here fundamentally to try to counteract some of the propaganda coming from the bureaucracy in Brussels. I've never seen something like it, where you have the bureaucracy of the EU trying to impose costs on the Hungarian people in order to sway the result of an election. I think that's absurd. The president thinks it's absurd.
That was,
Victor
that
obviously
was like
has the president's full support, my full support, and we wish him and the Hungarian people the best. So I'm sad to leave, but excited to get back home.
Could I ask you about Iran, sir?
So let me just say, given that you guys are going to ask about Iran, let me just say a few things, actually. So, number one, I think it's very important for the American media to be honest with the American people on this particular issue, because it affects not just, you know, the normal issues of public policy. It actually affects peace and war. And here's what I mean. So in the past couple of days, I've seen a lot of reporting from the American media about the 10-point proposal that the Iranians have made. Now, as I know, because I've been involved in this, there are 3 different 10-point proposals at least that I've seen floating around. The first 10-point proposal was something that was submitted, and we think, frankly, was probably written by ChatGPT, that was submitted to Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. That immediately went in the garbage and was rejected. There was a second 10-point proposal that was much more reasonable, that was based on some back and forth between us, between the Pakistanis, and between the Iranians. That is the 10-point proposal that the president was referencing in his truth yesterday. And then, frankly, I've seen a third 10-point proposal that's even more maximalist than the first 10-point proposal that's been floating around various social media channels. Now, here's what's interesting about all this, is that I've seen various organs, the New York Times, CNN, others, pick up and run the original 10-point proposal based on little more than a random Yahoo in Iran submitting it to public access television in the country of Iran, and then them saying that somehow represents the negotiating position of the government. It's the equivalent of somebody in, let's say, a Democratic councilman in Boise, Idaho, saying something crazy, the local public access TV picking up that crazy statement, and then the New York Times running that as the position of the President of the United States. It doesn't make an ounce of sense. What's happening on the ground in Iran is that you have clearly the position of the government, which is to negotiate with the United States of America. You have the position of the President of the United States, which is to send the negotiators to Pakistan and engage in this good faith negotiation. And then, yes, you have some crazy people at the fringes of the Iranian system who are leaking anonymously, either for propaganda purposes or because they're embarrassed or because they don't like what happened. And the final point, when I say they don't like what happened, what we know is that the United States accomplished its military objectives. What we know is the United States could have imposed significant additional military and economic costs on Iran and still has the capacity to do so. But we thankfully at this point, I think, have a ceasefire, thanks to the leadership of the President of the United States. We have the Iranians promising to open the Straits of Hormuz, and we have a negotiation that's supposed to start this weekend. That's the truth. I think it's a good first step. We're going to see if we can make more progress here in the days to come.
Can I ask you about Lebanon?
Go ahead, yeah.
Because there seems to be a disagreement about whether Lebanon was included in this proposal. And the Speaker of the Parliament, who you're going to sit across from the table from in Islamabad, has just said that he thinks negotiations would be unreasonable while that war is ongoing. So would you ask Israel to hold off strikes to allow some space for these talks?
Well, first of all, I know there's been some conversations between the Israelis and the leadership of our country today. I haven't been involved in that because I've been busy doing stuff in Hungary.
Bro, it's not my fault that Congress is on fucking vacation and it's Easter and shit, bro.
I'm actually supposed to get an update when I get on the plane, but let me say a couple things. First of all, I actually think, and there's a lot of bad faith negotiation and a lot of bad faith, propaganda going on. I think this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case. What we said is that the ceasefire would be focused on Iran, and the ceasefire would be focused on America's allies. Both
we
Israel
didn't say
and
we
the
wouldn't
Gulf
bomb
states.
Lebanon.
Now, that said, the Israelis, as I understand it, again, I'm
still?
supposed to get a fuller report when I get on the plane, have actually offered to be, frankly, to check themselves a little bit in Lebanon because they want to make sure that our negotiation is successful. That's not because that is part of the ceasefire. I think that's the Israelis trying to set us up for success, and we'll, of course, see how that unfolds in the next few days. But, look, if Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them and which the United States never once said was part of the ceasefire, that's ultimately their choice. We think that would be dumb, but that's their choice.
Mr. Vice President, Iran is continuing to block the Straits of Hormuz. Do you have an expectation of when that strait is going to be open?
Well, we've already seen an increase in traffic today. Hopefully we'll see an increase in traffic tomorrow. We actually think that we are seeing signs that the Straits is starting to reopen. I think you guys have probably seen oil prices have come down, so I think the oil markets, the gas markets are seeing the same thing. But the president's been very, very clear. The deal is a ceasefire, a negotiation. That's what we give. And what they give is the Straits are going to be reopened. If we don't see that happening, the president is not going to abide by our terms if the Iranians are not abiding by their terms.
Mr. Vice President, Caroline Leavitt said you played a key role in these talks. Could you help us understand some details about that role?
We need
and do you think your well-known opposition to foreign wars generally was a factor that made you a key player?
Well, I appreciate Carolyn saying that. I mean, my key role was I sat on the phone a lot. I answered a lot of phone calls. I made a lot of phone calls. And again, I'm happy about where we are. I think the president has struck a good deal for the American people. But fundamentally, the Iranians have got to take the next step, or the president has a lot of options to go back to the war.
Do you know if Iranians requested that you join the talks?
I don't know that. I would be surprised if that was true. But, I wanted to be involved because I thought I could make a difference. And obviously, I think the people really on the ground doing the day-to-day negotiating have been Steve and Jared. They've done a great job. But we're going to keep on working this as a team, as we always have. Pete's been very helpful of the various military elements of this. Marco's obviously been extremely involved. We work as a team. We work effectively. And, I've been on the phone a lot the past couple of days, but we're glad to be where we are.
Mr. Vice President, how is the United States accomplishing its stated objective of ensuring Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon ever if they still have highly enriched uranium? And what's the plan to get the uranium out?
Well, look, I mean, this is one of the things that's going to be one of the main subjects of negotiation is that we want Iran to not be able to make a nuclear weapon. We want the nuclear fuel, which is something the president has made very clear. And there, again, the way to think about this is the United States has certain demands and certain things that we want. The Iranians have things they can get out of the negotiation. The more that they're willing to give us, I think the more they're going to get things out of this negotiation. The president's talked about sanctions relief. The president's talked about economic partnerships and things like that. That's not going to happen unless the Iranians make a firm commitment to stop anything close to the development of a nuclear weapon. And frankly, the president has all the cards here. We've got a lot of leverage. We've got a lot of things that we can do. But right now, I think that we're in a good spot.
Is the threat to wipe Iranian civilization off the map still on the table? And is it fair to keep 90 million Iranians under that threat for the actions of their leaders?
Well, look, the leadership is really to blame for the condition of the country in Iran. The president of the United States has made very clear that the United States has a lot of leverage here. We have economic leverage. We've got military leverage. What he's trying to do is make sure the American people are safe and strike a deal that's good for the American people. I encourage the Iranians to come to the table seriously. We've seen some signs that they're going to do that. We've seen some signs of bravado. Fundamentally, we're in a good spot. They're reopening the straits. We have a ceasefire. And frankly, if they break their end of the bargain, then they're going to see some serious consequences.
But wiping them off the map is different than an economic leverage or military leverage. Why is that kind of language useful in this kind of scenario?
Well, again, the President of the United States is saying that unless the Iranians do the right thing, he is going to have some serious consequences for the regime. We obviously don't want the people of Iran to suffer, but we have a lot of leverage that President of the United States could use, and it's why I think it's so important for the Iranians to be negotiators in good faith.
Okay,
X has been abuzz the last couple of days with the Free Press story saying that senior Pentagon officials in January, including Rich Colby, brought Cardinal Pierre into the Pentagon.
Brought who?
Cardinal Christophe Pierre into the Pentagon.
I haven't seen this story, unfortunately.
And essentially the reporting by the Free Press is that they told him that the American military has a lot of might and they can do whatever they want and the church should get on its side. Does that message sound correct to you? Is that something you would sign off on?
So one, I with no disrespect to the Cardinal, I don't know who Cardinal Christophe Pierre is.
He's the ambassador to the Holy See and the U.S.
Oh, okay. I do. I've met him before. Sorry, I just didn't remember the name. I've never seen this reporting. I'd like to actually talk to Cardinal Christophe Pierre and, frankly, to our people to figure out what actually happened. I think it's always a bad idea to offer an opinion on stories that are unconfirmed and uncorroborated, so I'm not going to do that.
Sir, on the question of Iran's enriched uranium, do you see a scenario in which the administration may be willing to agree to allow Iran to continue enriching uranium for civilian nuclear purposes?
Well, look, what the president has said is that we don't want Iran to have the capacity to build a nuclear weapon. The president's also said that we don't want Iran enriching towards a nuclear weapon, and we want Iran to give up the nuclear fuel. Those are going to be our demands during the negotiation, and again, we're going to see what the Iranians are willing to give up. If they make a good faith effort to actually give us the things that we need to have a successful negotiation for the security of the American people, I think there's a lot on the other end. If they don't give us what we need, then I think it's going to be bad, but I'm optimistic that the Iranians are going to be smart, that they're going to negotiate in good faith.
And your negotiating partner in Iran, I know Kevin sort of asked about this already, but he essentially is saying that they're distrustful of the U.S. for, he tweeted out that 3 of the 10 points in the ceasefire framework have already been violated. They're distrustful of the U.S. What do you make of him tweeting that out before negotiations?
So I thought it was interesting, actually, because I did see that tweet from Ghalibaf actually just a couple of minutes ago. And let me say a few things. First of all, he said that there are a few points of disagreement before the negotiation. Well, that must mean that there's a lot of points of agreement because there's a 15-point
Make sure you double tap, hit that like button, get your vote in. Once
around.
this is over in
If
3
he's
minutes, we will
frustrated
be
about 3
ending that
issues,
poll.
that actually means that there's
Who
a
will
lot of
be the
agreement.
next
That's
president of the
point
United
number one.
States? Top
Point number
2
two,
go
to
on.
respond to each of those issues, and I read it very closely.
Third party's going to be
Let
revealed
me just
in a
say
second.
this. I actually wonder how good he is at understanding English, because there are things that he said that frankly didn't make sense in the context of the negotiations that we've had. But to address the 3 points, first of all, he talked about an attack that had allegedly happened on Iran and how that was a violation of the ceasefire. Ceasefires are always messy. An hour after the president announced the ceasefire, the Iranians launched a bunch of missiles. Then the Israelis responded. Then some of the Gulf Arab states responded. This is the nature of a ceasefire. No ceasefire ever goes without a little bit of choppiness. What we have been very clear about is that we want to stop the bombing. We want our allies to stop the bombing, and we want the Iranians to do the same thing. We're seeing evidence that things are going in the right direction, but it's going to take a little time. The second thing Ghalibaf said, which again I found fascinating, is he said, we refuse to give up the right to enrichment. And I thought to myself, you know what? My wife has the right to skydive. but she doesn't jump out of an airplane because she and I have an agreement that she's not going to do that because I don't want my wife jumping out of an airplane. We don't really concern ourselves with what they claim they have the right to do. We concern ourselves with what they actually do, and I think the president's been very clear on the enrichment question, our position on that.
You would trust the Democrats slightly before the
That has not changed. I think the third thing that he said was Lebanon. Okay, and again, I actually think that is a reasonable misunderstanding, but neither us nor the Israelis said that that was going to be part of the ceasefire. Again, we're working with people to try to get through some of these things, but it's really, fundamentally, we're on the right track. We got a lot more to do. We got a lot more that the Iranians are going to have to accept as part of this negotiation, but I think we've got a strong hand and we're going to play it well. Thank you all. Have a safe trip back.
All right. I was looking on that poll for the end of the day. The poll reads 1 hour in, solidified, ending it, putting it up now. We got the rest of the poll for the night now. Remember, who will be president in 2028? Day 15 of poll. We got J.D. Vance with 12 wins so far. We got Gavin Newsom with 2 wins so far. And our third party tonight is none other than Alex Jones, y'all. Alex Jones, y'all. Let me turn that poll on real quick, and then let me read this off to you really quick before we go to our next segment. Our third-party candidates so far, these are the percentages of potential upsets of J.D. Vance or Gavin Newsom. So J.D. Vance or Gavin Newsom have won every night of our poll so far. But the third-party candidates that have gotten the closest, John Fetterman, 9%. RFK, 10%. Bobby Lee, 12%. Stephen Miller, 12%. Elon Musk, 12%. Asmongold, 12%. Joe Rogan, 15%. Michelle Obama, 17%. Afroman, 20%. Tucker Carlson, 21%. Jon Stewart and Kamala Harris both tied for number 1 in the third party with 22%. And now back to it, guys. What do we got here? We got JD again. How do you know you will be there in 2028? Whoa, what's up now? What dorks voted for Newsom? Jesus. I wish the U.S. could agree with each other without hating each other and naming, calling, etc. Canada here. We don't get this. We get along. We can think differently, and we don't attack each other. We attack each other here, but we having fun here. So that's what this chat's all about. So I appreciate you, Canada, and come join us. Come join. Come join. Come join. Come join the revolution. Are we ready now? Are we ready now for the revolution, guys? Okay, next thing we got up today. Guess what? Guess what? Arsenio Hall was on Joe Rogan, guys. Arsenio motherfucking Hall. And the first little bit that we have up from Arsenio Hall starts at 10 minutes and 33 seconds. And it is Arsenio Hall and Joe Rogan discuss marijuana and working out. Working out with the weed, with the marijuana.
That about you feel it in your tissues, man. It's like you feel it's really good for coordination exercise. Like there's a lot of jiu-jitsu guys who smoke weed. Mm-hmm. They smoke weed right before class, like get ripped, and then
so the Gracies were high when I first started seeing it.
Oh. Not those guys. Okay, those guys don't do it, but a lot of guys do. I think one of the I don't want to throw him under the bus, but one of the brothers was really into smoking weed and doing.
What if it was Hoist? What if it was Hoist? What if the guy that won the first 3 UFCs was just like a motherfucking pothead?
Jiu-jitsu, and arguably the best one. Definitely.
Oh, wait! Arguably the best one! No way! Definitely the best one! No way! No way! No way did he just out Hoist Gracie for marijuana. Our conversation leader was on Joe Rogan. Yes. Oh, my God.
But a lot of jiu-jitsu guys do it. And a lot of guys like to do it for kickboxing. I guess so. It's like you just feel your muscles more. You feel like your coordination more. You're more sensitive. It's weird. It's like instead of you being like abstract with your movements and, you know, just kind of like doing it, it's like you feel all the tissues, all the connection. When you lift weights, you're like, oh, like you feel all the fibers of all your shit moving. It's like, it just makes you more sensitive. It's such an misunderstood substance. Not for everybody. I really believe some people should not get high. I think for some people, it throws them off and sends them down a dark road, and it's just not
causes them to procrastinate about their life and personal responsibility.
Procrastination, that's the thing. Procrastination and personal responsibility, you got to make sure you have those in check. You don't be a pothead. I used to like Joe, but it's just alpha male, tough guy crap. He sounds like the uncle we didn't want to at the wedding.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of people that just wake and bake and just live in the cloud all day and never get anything done. And then there's a lot of people that also get like super paranoid and they get anxiety and they freak out. And then there's people that there's a lot of connections to marijuana and psychosis or schizophrenic states that but the problem with that is, were they already like, did they already have a propensity towards schizophrenia and marijuana pushed them over the edge? Were they going to get it anyway? Like, it's hard to say.
A lot of those guys on a diet Coke would have problems.
Yeah, right? There's a lot of guys just fucking red lights freak them out. There's people that just, life is too hard for them and they don't need something else that fucks with it. You know, if you already have mental health struggles, probably shouldn't do mushrooms. You know, if you're already fucked up, if there's already some things that you're like struggling to hang on to everyday life, you probably shouldn't do acid. You know what I mean? Like, you should probably just try to like keep your shit together. But that's not everybody. It's like alcohol. Like, alcohol's not for everybody, but some people can have a glass of wine at dinner and just start laughing. It's a nice social lubricant.
It stimulates
some
me
people,
now
they
in my
get one
30s
drink
in
and
a weird
they're
way.
doing coke and they're getting hookers and they're fucking driving on the freeway.
It's like, it pumps me up.
They're shooting at cops. There's like, they go crazy. Like, some people just can't handle alcohol. Doesn't mean it should be illegal. Like, that's crazy. And there's the same thing I feel with pot. Pot is super beneficial to a lot of people.
And has been for millions of years.
Yeah, for who knows.
For me, that's my, like in the old days, you'd watch a television show and a guy would have a martini when he comes home. You know?
Yeah.
I even talk about that in the book. When I come home, my girl has me a joint laid out on the counter, you know, and, you know, nice little raw papers. And that's daddy's cocktail.
Yeah.
Didn't the left love this man, then pissed down his back and told him it was raining?
It's a nice one, too, because it doesn't fuck with your body. The problem with alcohol is, you know, it feels good while you're doing it, but then the next day you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Your fucking head and your body's
Headache.
tired.
I hear swelling, you know, and different kinds of things. And also, I'm from a home where my favorite person, my cousin, because I didn't have brothers and sisters, biological brothers and sisters, so when my cousin came to live with me, a male, he's a teenager, and he had a drinking problem. Like, I would go inside my toy box and find scotch.
Oh, he would hide it?
Yeah, he would hide it. He's parked in the garage when there were already two cars in the garage. You know, and I loved him, and he was hilarious, and he, in part, helped to make me who I am. But a bad experience like that in your youth can make you a little bit leery about liquor.
Oh, yeah. I had a friend of mine when I was in high school, and his cousin sold coke, and I watched this guy fall apart. I watched him do cocaine constantly and fall apart. His life just went down the toilet, and I never touched cocaine because of that. I never did. I've still never done coke, and I think that's why, because I watched his.
So you've never tried a line?
Never.
That's heavy,
not
man.
once. Yeah.
Because I had to try it to see what it smelled like. You know, I mean,
I'm sure I'd like it. My friend Jimmy said, "Don't do this. You'd love it," but he's probably right.
But you also have a certain kind of discipline where I think you could do a line and say, okay, I get it. But I love that you have the discipline to never try it. I don't have that kind of strength.
That's me. Like, I'm like Arsenio Hall. I'm like, I at least have to try it once. Then I'll tell myself not to try it. But I do not have the discipline to never try it. All right. Next one up we got here is Richard Pryor's lesson on simplicity.
I had no furniture. And Rashawn had told me, his guy had told me to get some Kvassier. So I had some Kvassier, you know, and we sat on the floor and drank Kvassier and listened to a boombox with jazz on it and talked. And he looked around at one point and he said, "This reminds me of when I was happy."
Whoa.
And I don't even have to tell you what went through my head and what I thought that meant. And I didn't listen to him then. That's the thing, is people disperse knowledge to us from their experiences, and sometimes we're too young and dumb to listen.
What did that mean to you at the time when he said, "This reminds me of when I was happy"?
You know, I was so excited that Richard Pryor came to see my condo. I didn't process it. But years later, I started realizing that he bought things and philosophies that made his life more complex. And he was happy. This is what I think it means. He was happy with the simple shit, you know? And sometimes, I mean, it's nice to have, isn't it cool to have money but still eat burgers if you want to? I mean, because I remember walking through supermarkets and pretending I was shopping and eating out of the child cart, that little top part, and then leaving the supermarket, you know? So it's nice to be able to buy anything we want. But at the same time, I get that thing of the simplicity and, you know, no guard gate.
Nobody's knocking down your door trying to get to you.
Yeah, just a condo with no furniture. And for a guy like that, for the greatest that I've ever known in our world, to say I was happy when I had a little place with no furniture. I didn't think about it enough then, but later I realized what he meant when I was in a house that was too big with guest houses.
Yeah.
That would, you know, you walk into a guest house and cobwebs get on your face, you know, because you ain't been in there in a while and you realize, okay, this is what Richard was talking about. I'm doing a lot of shit for other people that I don't need.
Right. And too much complexity.
Yeah.
Too much
somebody said,
complications.
My business manager said something about my staff, and it dawned on me, what the fuck do I have a staff for? You know, and I've simplified things a little bit in my life, and I'm really happy. It's just, you know, me and my woman and a scaled down life.
That's better. Yeah, there's a lot of people that just want a lot of people around them because it makes them feel important. They have a big staff. They have a lot of people working for them, a lot of things going on, a lot of different projects. Keep moving.
Yeah.
But no peace. Yeah, not good. I always tell comedians, like, they're like, "Oh, I got to get an assistant." I go, "No, you don't. Just do less shit. Don't get an assistant. You get an assistant, that person's going to want to kill you. That person's... They're going to feel entitled. You're making all this money. They're not. You're famous. They're not. Yeah. They see you for who you really are. They're like, you fucking regular guy. Why has he got all this? Like David Spade's assistant duct taped him and tased him. Remember that?
Yeah.
Try to kill him.
That's heavy, man. And I've heard that the people who work for us always hate us. I've always avoided. Somebody
it's
told
not
me
always the case.
They said, you know your housekeeper hates you. And I'm like,
has a Theo complex and also thinks he's a country bumpkin, all while he chose to move to Texas and fell in love with it. Yeah, but he's the California Texan, man.
No, she's been with me 22 years. It's like, that bitch hates you. and I don't want to believe that.
It's not always the case, but it is often the case that people that are around people that have so much, they feel like, why don't I have this? Like, I'm working for this person. Why am I not doing, but why am I not rich? This person could just make me rich. It's weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's not what the job is. The job is you're a gardener. Gardener doesn't make $5 million a year. Like, you're kind of being crazy. And then you get people that take advantage of you, where you get a bill and you're like, why does it cost this much? Like, this is kind of like, I have a friend who's very wealthy. He's a businessman, and he goes over every fucking little thing that people charge him, and he's always looking for, they're fucking trying to overcharge me. He
signs his own checks.
Yeah, but he gets crazy when he thinks people are overcharging him. But I'm like, dude, you're almost 80 and you're worth $1 billion. Like, why are you looking at like how much the car wash guy charges you? This is crazy.
Maybe that's why he has $1 billion.
Perhaps. I mean, he's a businessman. That's his thing. thing. But what drives him nuts is this idea that people are overcharging him because he's wealthy.
Oh.
It'll probably drive him right to the grave, won't it? Oh no. The wealthy man is upset that people are overcharging him for being wealthy. Oh no. Next one, revolutionizing late night TV.
A lot of the young guys don't understand what you did, because what your show was, like back in, I guess, when was it? When did it first come on the air? What year?
Probably Coming to America was like 86, 87. I left New York and went and started the show. So 87, 88, sometime around in there. I'm bad with years.
Yeah. During that time and in the 90s, it changed the whole landscape of late night television. Like, completely changed it. Because late night television was stiff. It was like, the desk. The desk made no sense to me. Like,
I talk about the desk and how I got rid of it, but
it made no sense. But I was like, oh, finally he got rid of the desk.
Yeah.
The fucking are we being lectured? Am I in the principal's office? Like, what's the fucking desk for? But when they first started doing that in the 1950s, if you went to work, you had a desk.
Yeah.
You had to wear a tie. You had a desk, and they all smoked cigarettes while they were on the job. You could watch like the Johnny Carson show.
During commercials, Johnny will go under his desk, get a cigarette.
Yeah. Well, they would often smoke on air. They would do it all the time back then. They all smoked cigarettes.
How about planes? How about the fact that we could get on a plane to go to a gig, and there was a row behind us where smoking began.
Right.
And
which made
I'm
no
in the
sense.
no smoking row, and the bitch behind me got a cigar.
Yeah. And it was just flooding the entire cabin.
Yes.
Dice used to have a joke about it. You're in a fucking tube. Where's the air going?
Yeah.
But it was a weird time. But the whole idea was what I was getting to was like late night television was very stiff. It was it was like and then your show came around.
Paul Anka wrote that.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Your show came around, and then all of a sudden it was fun and loose. And I remember when Clinton came on your show and played the saxophone.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "What is happening?" The fucking president was he the president back then, or was he running?
He was a governor. And
that's right.
He was trying to get the young vote, so he did me. And then the next day, they decided to do MTV, because I think what my show did that night was changed how you run for the highest office in the land.
Mm-hmm.
And
look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
The joke I had just done was finally a Democrat blowing something other than the election. When you look, you remember jokes in the moment. And dude, so
damn, that's a good joke.
What's interesting is
that's a good fucking joke.
After this,
how he cried when
presidential candidates realized they had to come to Rogan and Sunday Morning to meet the press. And I like that. They have to go everywhere now.
Well, they go where the people are paying attention, right? Mm-hmm. But it was different, because if they did the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, it would be a very competent interview, but it would be stiff. It was like very, not even stiff's not the right word. It was traditional. It was like, this was different. Like him playing the saxophone, running for president, playing the saxophone. I was like, what is happening here?
And I tried to get, I told Jenna Bush this last week.
Like
I'm on this book slinging tour. And I told her, I said, I invited your grandpa. Because back then there was a mentality that you do equal both sides, And I don't think it was a rule, but first of all, my dad was a Republican, my mother was a Democrat, so I was used to hearing both sides and learning both sides, and I thought the best thing I could do for young people is show them both sides, and that would be fair of me as a host. And we got a call from a man named Marlon Fitzwater, who said, no fucking way we're coming there, and
I wonder why.
It's almost like what you talk about with the desk. Society at a certain point is stiff, and it takes certain people to loosen it up and make a change. And I think it was just, they're not used to it. It's like, why are they barking? And what is, yeah.
It's not really about my comments. I mean, if I have something really important to say, I'll pause it and I'll talk to you. It's hilarious that but thank you for the note. It's hilarious that Americans think Joe Rogan is an educated man. Do we, though?
Yeah, that's right. Things that make you go,
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot going on.
I had a couple of hooks going.
Oh, you had a great hook. The things that make you go, everybody used that all day long. Like if something weird was going on in the office, people are things that make you go,
And it was so cool. Then they wrote a song about it, and I would turn on TV and I would see.
Was that CNC Music Factory?
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. And I would turn on TV and like Nordstrom's would have a sale that makes you go, And I was like, that's very cool. And it came about sitting with the writers. And I had done it at the Comedy Store. And he says, we could use that and just throw any joke in there, like randos that we don't know where to put.
Right.
Okay. The next one up is Prince's rebellion against record labels.
About getting head.
First time I saw him, he was opening for the Rolling Stones.
Wow.
And the audience didn't dig him because it was different back then, and he was singing soft and wet.
Right. Well, Prince he was so unique, man.
And he predicted a lot of the things that we're dealing with now and going through. I remember the first time he talked about what became Napster. And he talked about owning your own property and what was going to happen, and slave on his jaw. And we thought that was silly, but it meant something.
Well, he was dealing with these crazy contracts where these record companies, these predatory record companies, would lock you into these contracts and they fucking owned you. So his response to that was like, okay, I won't perform as Prince anymore. Now I'm fucking this shit.
Yeah.
I'm this squiggly. I'm a symbol.
With a slave insignia on my jaw.
What are you going to do now? I'm a symbol. I'm not even selling myself as Prince. Yeah. And he would how revolutionary is that? This guy said, okay, I know the workaround. I won't use my name anymore. I'll just be a symbol.
He was bad
But
dude,
he was such a bad motherfucker that people are like, I know who that is. I don't care what that fucking symbol is. That's Prince. Let him sing. Yeah. Let him do things.
Did you ever meet him?
No, man. I had one opportunity to fucking see him live, and I blew it.
At the Great Western Forum?
No, it was at one of the hotels in Vegas, but it was a really late show. And I had a show earlier that night, and and Prince was doing small shows back then. It was like this small, like intimate audience, but it was like after midnight. I was like, I'm fucking tired. I'm gonna go to sleep. And this is like I fucked up, man. I fucked up. It's like when his career was in a weird place because he wasn't doing like big shows anymore, and he was doing this late night show, and people were saying it was really good, but I was like, I'm tired. I'm not gonna see this. And then years later, when he was dead, I was like, God, did I fuck up? I always thought Prince was going to be around.
Prince was my very first concert, 7th grade. I saw Prince.
Yeah.
And we lost Prince to fentanyl.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know
in an
that.
elevator.
God damn.
Oh, I remember the Musicology album where he toured and he attached the album to the ticket so that when you bought a ticket, you were buying an album and it instantly became $1 million seller with that philosophy. He had genius that was way ahead of the pimps.
Yeah.
I love it.
He just knew that he was being fucked, and he knew that all they're selling is his brilliance. They don't have anything. What is a record company selling? They're only selling the art. That's it. They don't make it.
And they were
just
getting
selling
a penny a copy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that.
The record company was getting most of it. And now it makes even less sense because nobody even buys albums anymore. It's like, how the fuck are these record companies even surviving? It's so crazy that they still figure out a way to latch their tentacles onto these young artists. And for young artists, they feel like they've made it when they're a part of a record deal. Like, I got a deal. And I almost want to tell them, like,
that ain't a deal.
You got to deal with the devil. Like, if you just put your shit on YouTube or on SoundCloud or anywhere where people hear it and they start sharing it, you'll be huge.
Yeah, we're getting smarter and learning how to deal with the pimps that pimp us. I talk in the book about Prince also had a great sense of humor. You would have loved him, as a person, beyond the musician. And there was a time when I was hosting the MTV Awards, and he had no ass in his pants. And, so when he's coming past me down the hall, I realized, oh, shit. Because this motherfucker ain't got no ass in his pants. We'll be talking about this tomorrow. So obviously, when I get back to the show, my first monologue is about that night. Yes!
What? 1991. Isn't that crazy?
That was nuts.
1991.
So I do jokes about that in the monologue.
Of course.
And like a week or two after the jokes, I get a box in the mail at Paramount, and it's from Prince. And I open it. I figure it's maybe a hoodie.
Right.
I opened it, and it's a beautiful black and white suit with all the Prince symbols on it. Made me look like I was the drummer for New Power Generation or something. It was a cool suit. And I'm looking at it, and my assistant said, "Turn it around." I turned it around. There was no ass.
Did you wear
no leg. Hell no.
There's no, you got the holes in the ass.
Put it on. It's like, I could never bring myself to putting on that suit. It had no back, Joe.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But that's his sense of humor.
That's hilarious. That's so funny.
I took him to an after-hours joint once. I talk about that in the book, because he was very interested in what people listen to and what moves people in clubs. And I told him about an after-hours joint down the way south of Wilshire that was in a lady's house. And you have pit bulls and a fence, and they let you in, they lock the chain back, bring you to the back, and you put money on the counter, and they put your liquor in a Solo cup, not a legal place. And I told him about the place, and he said, "I want to go." And I took him down the way to this spot. He had an acrylic cane and a suit where the shoes match the suit, exact same material. And he sat with me in this after-hours joint and listened to the music. And it was where the strippers
What year was this?
Oh, God, this was maybe 2 years after I left the talk show. And
so did he need the cane back then? Was that when he was having hip problems?
I think so. Now we understand that maybe he had a hip replacement or something. I thought it was fashion, but it probably was a little necessary that year. And
he was all his dancing.
He used to jump off speakers, Joe.
Yeah.
And land with heels.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what fucked him up.
Yeah.
A lot of pictures with him with a cane over the time, though.
He probably was struggling even back then, because there's a lot of guys that blew their hips out. Yeah. He probably needed it.
Because he was an athlete per se,
Oh, for sure. I mean, his dancing was insane.
And he was a good basketball player. Well, hey, I have one of those. The hat with the police hat with the chain. He sent me that one day.
All right. Our next one up is Rodney Dangerfield's Zero Fucks Given.
A wireless earwig. And if you went up top, you would hear her say, "I don't get no respect." And I don't get no respect. And first of all, two things. First of all, it warmed my heart that the woman who loves you is going to help you do what you love.
Mm-hmm.
So that made me feel so good. And it was like, I want a woman with that kind of heart, because I know I'm going to want to do it when I'm older.
She gave us his notes from one of his Tonight Show appearances, and they're framed on the wall in the green room. It's his handwritten notes in bold. He would write it in bold where the punchlines were. Mm-hmm. It's sitting there right above the couch.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it was one of the first things. Whitney Cummings hooked it up. She got it for us from her. She wanted us to have it.
Whitney Cummings,
I saw Rodney live when I was a security guard. I was a security guard at Great Woods Center for the Performing Arts, which was in Mansfield, Massachusetts.
Oh.
I lived in Boston.
Yeah.
me and a bunch of the black belts from this Taekwondo team that I was on got jobs as security guards. And I was 19, and I was backstage, and Rodney was walking around with a bathrobe on with nothing underneath it. That was when he was going on stage with a bathrobe. He got to such a fuck it point in his life where he would literally go on stage with nothing but a bathrobe. He would walk out there with a bathrobe and slippers and just fucking murder. I remember being in the and I wasn't even thinking about doing stand-up back then. Back then, I was just fighting, and I was a fan of comedy. I always loved comedy.
Your fighting friends talked you into doing stand-up, right?
Yeah. One of the guys that I trained with, my friend Steve. But when I went there, I remember like you want to talk about not giving a fuck. Like this guy really didn't give a fuck. Like he had gotten to a point where he had so much success and so much money, and this is after Back to School and all those big movies, and he was still just going out there doing stand up. He was smoking weed back there, and he would go on stage with a bathrobe on. And I remember thinking, that is the wildest shit I've ever seen in my life. I remember as a young man, because I was always, you're fucking 19. You're scared of everything. You're worried about the future. You don't know what, you have no security in your life at all. And here's this guy with, millions of dollars, massive amounts of fame. And he had got to that I don't give a fuck stage. But he really did. He wasn't faking it. Nobody told him he has to go on stage in a bathrobe. He was like, I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to go on stage with a bathrobe. He just went on stage in a fucking bathrobe. See if you can find some photos of him on stage with a bathrobe on. I know he did it for years.
I got in trouble because Eazy-E came on my show in his bathrobe. And he was like, you gave it to me. Because we would give out bathrobes. And so he said, well, fuck it. I'll wear it out there. And he wore it out and he was picking his teeth with a knife. And Paramount was like, oh, man, this is not what we asked him for. This is really not what we asked him for. He'll never replace Johnny.
Oh, fuck off.
But I knew.
Those
I
people
knew,
were ridiculous.
Hey, I was where I was because I snuck in through syndication, did a first-run syndication. I know network wasn't for me. And when Letterman got CBS, I knew I was really in trouble, so I had to figure out an exit plan. But the bottom line is for 6 years, I did it the way I wanted to do it, and I wouldn't change a thing, man. To do it for 26 years, I wouldn't trade those 6.
The thing about it is, man, everybody wanted to be Johnny back then. It was so
Absolutely.
crazy. Even Letterman.
I joked at the Emmys. I said I had a dream. I wanted to be an old white man with a desk, and that.
That's great. All right. The last one we got here, the chilling O.J. Simpson encounter. Well, that's one from today's podcast with Arsenio Hall on the most popular podcast in America, JRE.
Be
other famous people.
Yeah, so odd.
I do a story in my book about O.J. coming to stage 29 at Paramount to whip my ass one time.
Did he really?
He was angry. And
did you say a joke on the show or something?
What? I booked.
Bro is admitting he was an accomplice. Like basically, he's like, I knew OJ was gonna murder me, and they're like, do you know like OJ got away with murder, right?
Is when Naked Gun was out, and I booked Leslie Nielsen, and we got a call from OJ's people because he wanted to come on. Obviously, he was in that movie. But the second one, it had legs, so I booked Priscilla Presley, who was a great guest and a lot of history. And after that, I get a call from the gate. Is there O.J. Simpson here at the gate? He wants to talk to you. And he didn't park. He didn't want a space. He parked outside the elephant door of stage 29 and wanted me to come out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And by the way, this is at a time when we didn't know he cut a motherfucker's head off.
Also at a time we didn't know about CTE.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Which is probably a lot of what OJ was going through. A lot of that violent behavior.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of CTE.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you think about it, those days in San Francisco when he couldn't quite cut the way he used to, he was getting hit. He was taking head-on shots.
Oh, yeah. And NFL back then was nuts.
Yeah, I feel bad for him and Junior Seau and some of those guys. Junior Seau was trying to scream to us what was going on.
Right.
He committed suicide, left a note, made sure he didn't damage his brain with the bullet.
Right, so they could check it out.
Yeah. But OJ stopped by and we had a talk and
so he was mad that you didn't have him on the show?
Yeah, he was a little mad and
but was it your call?
Oh, yeah. I mean, but by the way, it was my call to just do things that would get numbers.
Right.
You know, well, the Leslie Nielsen one, I liked him because I saw him someplace with a little thing in his hand to make fart noises.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, so I knew that I would say to him, so you got a big hit here, and and he would do it, squeeze the thing. And I was just trying to find the funniest guest, you know. And OJ, he told me, he said some shit about, I thought having a black host, things would be different. And I'm like, don't you play the race card. Not you, Juice.
Not you, Juice.
But I ran into him in a club one night. I was hanging out with a couple members of New Edition, and we're in this club, and he comes over and he gets drunk with us. And after we're pretty tanked, Nicole and this gorgeous girl named Faye Resnick, I'll never forget her name. She was beautiful. And these two women come over, and I realize, because OJ is alone, I realized he was going to places finding her. And so she comes over and she says, Juice, and she says, what do you do? And he says, I'm hanging out with these guys. And he's, when you drunk, spit be flying. I wasn't drunk enough that I didn't see the spit flying. And so she said, well, I'm going to be over here with Faye and blah, blah, blah. Say something before you leave. And so we sit there and talk. But he said something that night that blew me away. We talked about her, and he said, I still love her. I've tried to give her up, and I can't.
Wow.
And
that's crazy.
Not too much later,
oh my God,
she was dead. That's
not too much later.
That's around the time too. I remember
Whoa.
missing the show, because one thing that's addictive about the talk show is anything in the news you get to handle it.
Right.
And I remember watching a basketball game and seeing the freeway chase with the Bronco, and I was like, I want a monologue tomorrow. I couldn't believe I didn't have a show that night. That's the only time I've ever really missed it, because most of the time you just go to the store.
Right. That's hilarious.
I wanted to talk to the nation that night.
Well, listen, brother, you had a gigantic impact on culture. You really did. Your show was amazing. You've been incredible.
Yeah, man. Arsenio Hall, Joe Rogan, y'all. Let's see if we got anything interesting going on. Let's check in with our whole Middle East Explained.
An eye on right now. The joint military strike.
Of this in a minute here, but let's check in on our poll real quick. J.D. Vance coming away with it again. He's going to win for a 13th time now tonight, guys. 64 votes, 35 minutes in. Get your votes in. Double tap. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe. Be a part of the show, y'all. Let's go back to the news. Let's see if we got any news on the news. Disgruntled foreign employee sets fire to $1.2 million square foot house warehouse in California.
Our immune system is...
Goddamn, bro.
Overwhelmed. Let's head out to the IE for a follow-up on that massive warehouse fire in Ontario. A man who works at that facility is now under arrest on suspicion of arson.
That's right. Rachel Aragon was on this story yesterday when the fire first broke out, and she joins us live from Ontario with the very latest on the investigation. Rachel.
Hey, good morning. All was quiet this morning here in Ontario, just outside the Kimberly-Clark Distribution Center. A very different picture, as you guys know, than yesterday morning. And take a look at these images right here. This video, of course, is what some people saw as they were driving towards this industrial complex. It really highlights the flames and just how far spread that smoke was. Well, this morning we're learning more about that suspect who was arrested and accused of setting this massive warehouse on fire. Police have identified him as 29-year-old Chamel Abdul Karim, a Highland resident. And Ontario police say initially he was believed to be an employee of Kimberly-Clark. Now it's been confirmed otherwise an employee of NFI Industries, which is a third-party distribution company of Kimberly-Clark. We know around 20 or so employees were inside the facility when the fire broke out. And for some background, again, this facility houses larger quantities of household paper items, things like Kleenex and toilet paper. Officials confirmed to us yesterday that the internal sprinklers were working at the time, but as you can imagine with the volume of those paper products that added much more fuel to the flames.
Wow.
Well, here's Ontario police talking about how there was an initial report of an employee missing, and it was later confirmed to be the suspect that is now in custody.
Whoa.
So initially, yes, he was. There was an employee reported missing. That employee was later found. We did make a connection that that employee that was missing and found was confirmed to be the suspect. So we don't know if he was on duty working at the time, but we can confirm that he was on scene of the fire at the time that it started. Yes.
A liquidation arson? Damn, that whole thing went up in flames, bro. Whoa, that's crazy. Nah, I think the employee just got upset. Bro just got upset.
Drinking warm water with cinnamon before bed eliminates this parasite from the pancreas and resets blood sugar levels and reverses.
There are those that have raised the prospect that you should run for president. And you're going to
be my running mate?
Do you think the company paid him to do it?
I mean we'll have to poll what a Shopton kind of ticket looks like. No, but I mean, first of all, would you consider it, and are you ruling it out?
Well, first of all, and I'm not saying this.
He's obviously considering it. That's the whole reason he is doing interviews now and becoming a senator that speaks out against Epstein files and everything else, is because he thinks that he is now a moderate and that he's going to win. He's not even fucking like 20th in the Kelchi polls, though, so good luck, bro.
To avoid, I'll give you a direct question, but our first focus has to be to make Hakeem Jeffries Speaker of the House. Because you can rest assured Mike Johnson is not going to be swearing in any Democratic president in 2029. So we need the House of Representatives to stop Trump's corruption and to make sure we have any shot at 2028. But look, I believe I offer two things for why I will consider it to America. One is I represent the economic future, and I have a clear roadmap of how we're going to make sure every part of this country has an economic stake in the future, whether that is workers having equity, whether it is the Black South being part of the AI revolution, whether it is making sure that families actually have economic independence with health care and child care. I have a comprehensive economic vision, and I believe that people need an economic vision. And secondly, I fundamentally believe, because of my grandfather, that we need to move beyond a colonial model of the world, that we have this incredible moment, because of people like you, Reverend Sharpton, my generation, we have this moment to finally see what Frederick Douglass prophesied in 1869 in Composite Nation. You know, Douglass, 20 years after being enslaved, he didn't speak out first for just black Americans. He said Chinese Americans, Chinese have the right to come to America. Because in the free era of America, the best traditions will survive and the worst will be discarded. And America will become a composite nation, a nation of all nations, a nation of people of all backgrounds. I see that in the energy in our nation with young people. And I believe a multiracial America will finally be just not only here, but just around the world. And that calling of understanding the economy and wanting to see a cohesive multiracial democracy says, maybe I have something to offer and contribute with humility to our nation at this moment.
Roy Connor, Congressman Roy Connor. Give him a hand.
Okay.
Tired of your devices spying on you?
Slavery reparations with Roy Connor. I guess
we need a Secretary of Reconciliation who would report directly to a president, not this president, directly to a president. And the job would be to reconcile our differences, and that reconciliation for me, I say this with no shame, no embarrassment. I am unapologetically black, and I say this, that would include reparations for the 240 years of free labor that people still benefit today from, and that we were locked out of opportunities along the way while they were benefiting. So I believe in reparations. And Reverend, there are some people who don't want reparations, but here's my solution to that. I'll take their share.
Okay, crazy. Well, crazy dude, crazy bee. RFK announces he'll be running for a new podcast to start Doctors and Scientists.
For decades now, Americans have been told that we should trust the system, but our children are sicker, chronic diseases exploding, and the answers that we've been given aren't working. Many of us have come to the conclusion that government actually lies to us. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS secretary. This podcast is about telling the truth, especially when it's uncomfortable. I'm going to have fearless conversations with critical thinkers, including independent doctors, respected scientists, and leaders in medical innovation and research. I'm going to ask the questions and lift the taboos and expose the hypocrisy and the conflicts and the corruption. We're going to follow the evidence wherever it leads. And we're going to name the names of the forces that obstruct the path.
What's it called? Let's go.
This isn't going to be about politics. It's about our families. It's about our children.
Bro, what's it called?
Confronting the spiritual delays and embracing the truth. If we want a healthy nation, we have to confront the lies that have made us
I want the
spiritually,
Trump
morally,
podcast.
and
Where's the
physically
presidential
sick.
podcast?
The time for half measures is now over. We're launching a new era of radical transparency in government here at HHS. I hope you'll join us in our mission to make America healthy again.
I can't talk. Oh, the Secretary Kennedy podcast is what it's called, guys. Coming soon. Oh my God, are y'all ready? The Secretary Kennedy podcast. We'll be checking in on episode 1 when that comes out.
You used to be sharp.
When he drops the
Full
first
ideas.
epi,
Now you are running on fumes by noon and calling it normal.
We had already lost 13 service person. 100 Iranian students had been killed. But yet, on top of that, they were planning an actual genocide, an actual destruction of a civilization. That's why Trump should be impeached. That's why Democrats should file impeachment articles against Trump. That's why the 25th Amendment to remove him should be invoked.
Okay. Netanyahu.
My dear brothers and sisters, the state of Israel has achieved amazing achievements.
Victory
Achievements
for everyone.
that until
Israel.
recently would have
Victory.
seemed completely imaginary. Iran is weaker than ever and Israel is stronger than ever. And that is the bottom line of this operation until this point. And I'd like to stress, we still have some goals to accomplish and we will achieve these goals either through agreement and consensus or through renewal of the war because we are ready to do so whenever necessary. Our finger is on the trigger. As you all know, a temporary ceasefire came into effect tonight, a 2-week one between Iran and the U.S. in coordination with Israel. No, they did not surprise us at the last moment. And I would like to emphasize, this is not the end of the campaign. It is
not
really
the
a
end.
preparation on our way to achieve all of our goals. Iran is entering these negotiations while beaten and weaker than ever. It has promised to open up the Strait of Hormuz after they gave up on all the preliminary conditions they have set. Final termination to the war, removal of sanctions, and a ceasefire in Lebanon. And while we see Iran weaker than ever, Israel is strong as it's never been before.
Damn. All right, y'all. More Mr. Al Green.
Right
He's about
now
to get
at
fucking
Chicago Steak
voted out,
Company.
but until
Get
then,
8 free 8-ounce gourmet steak burgers and our premium steak.
If they had to, they would crawl to get to the polls. We owe it to them to vote in spite of all of these obstacles. We cannot let them deny us the opportunity to elect people that will make a difference because they have thrown up the roadblocks. We know they're there. Let's start getting those passports. Let's start getting those driver's license. Let's start getting all of those things so that we can vote in numbers unlike we've ever voted in before and take back the House of Representatives, take back the Senate, take back the presidency next time out. And for me, impeach Donald John Trump. For me, that's for me.
That's a good plan to me. Good plan to me. All right. Nope, we already watched her.
Hello, I am Douglas Aleutian, author of the new 2026 book called
What do you say to the Democrats who want to impeach the president?
Yeah, but his campaign has cost the lives
first
of
promises
a lot of
made, promises kept. Trump said what he was going to do. They're not going to have nuclear weapons to kill our families. They're not going to have ballistic missiles to kill us. The Democrats are insane. Think about it. If the Democrats were in power when Lincoln allowed Sherman to destroy the South, they would have impeached him. Or when Roosevelt destroyed the infrastructure of Germany, they would have impeached him. Or when Truman used the atomic bomb against Japan, they would have impeached him. These people are insane. This president cares about the American public. The Democrats are telling you exactly who they are. They're out defending the Ayatollah. They're defending the regimes in Cuba and Venezuela. I mean, these people are crazy. They forgot who the hell they represent.
That's wild. Reagan rally in 84. That's wild. IDF soldier. What's up now?
On January 1st, 2026,
they struck civilian
the global
neighborhoods with
financial
missiles in
system
Lebanon.
officially shifted.
Oh, really?
While the mainstream media.
The IDF just carried out the largest strike against Hezbollah terrorists since the beginning of Operation Roaring Lion. In just 1 minute, the IDF struck 100 Hezbollah military targets in different locations across Lebanon. The targets include command centers, missile infrastructure, and assets used by the Radwan Special Forces.
Damn.
This operation was
Get rid of the
based
red and
on
blue
weeks
bullshit.
of precise intelligence and careful planning. These strikes come as Hezbollah changes the way it is operating. In recent weeks, the IDF intelligence identified Hezbollah moving beyond its usual strongholds and building positions
Reagan
in
was the
more
one
areas
that
across
said,
Lebanon,
"Make America
including civilian neighborhoods. Hezbollah's use...
Ricky, you have been knighted, Ricky. Welcome to the Mod Club, Ricky Mathis. That's what I'm going to call you. I don't know if that's right, but Ricky Mathis, welcome to the club. You can now see hidden comments. It just means that somebody is swearing. You can always unhide every comment. If somebody's bugging you, if they're making some trouble, if they're fighting the fight, if they're annoying the hell out of you, you can put them in timeout for a little bit. We don't normally ban anybody here because we just let them watch with their eyes silently muted as we put them in timeout. No spamming in the chat. But, of course, you can also just do nothing with your new powers, Ricky. Appreciate you being a part of the chat on this day. And also your alien emoji. That's kind of freaking me out.
Of civilians as human shields is their strategy. Hezbollah dragged Lebanon into this war, and it is now trying to spread that danger to even more Lebanese communities. Our message is clear. We are fighting Hezbollah,
Trump at it again.
Not the people of Lebanon. We said this from day one. We will not allow Hezbollah to pose a threat to our civilians.
No bans here, my friend. Woo, woo. All right. Who we got? Megyn Kelly.
The Fed just installed a kill switch in your bank account. If you have over $100,000 sitting in a traditional...
I mean, I don't know about you, but I am sick of this shit.
Uh-oh.
I'm sick of it.
Uh-oh. Sick
Can't
of the
he
shit.
just behave like a normal human? I mean, honestly, like the president...
she's doing the exact same thing as the liberals. She's like, I can't believe he said it. I can't believe he did. Shut the fuck up. It's Donald Trump.
Shut up.
You shut up.
Shut up
You
about
fucking
that
shut
shit.
up.
You don't threaten to wipe out an entire civilization.
You don't.
We're talking about.
You don't do it. It's too hard. Man, shut the fuck up. You're the pussy.
Civilians, just casually in a social media post. You know, like I am the first to try to understand Trump and his strategy, and not freak out over his weird social media posts and language that is loose and incendiary. Truly, I've lived with it for 10 plus years.
But
I learned it the hard way when I was on the receiving end of it for 9 months. And truly, I think that was a gift to me in many ways because it helped me really come to understand what he does with his social media. But this is completely irresponsible and disgusting.
Oh my God.
This is wrong.
Oh, really?
It's wrong.
Yeah, it's
he should not be doing it. I don't care that it's his negotiation tactic.
Blonde
is
lady
to
say
kill
what?
An entire country full of
Get in the
civilians,
kitchen.
men, women, and children.
Goodbye.
An American president.
Need
so
I
that
remind
the Strait
you
of
of
Hormuz
Megyn
will
Kelly's
be open?
racist
It's
blackface?
just wrong. It's not hard to say it. It's not hard to recognize it. I wish he would stop doing this.
Stop it.
He can't
Stop
negotiate
it. I have
without
blackface
doing
to put
this.
on.
What does that say
Stop
about
it.
him? What does that say about the position that our
I have
country
no
is in right
fucking
now in these
moral
negotiations?
solitude right here.
He's got to say this.
Me, Megyn Kelly, with my blackface.
He can't be a dignified, strong leader without threatening a bunch of war crimes. Like what is he, Genghis Khan? Like what is he trying to do? And why can't he do it?
I think he's a little bit further away from Genghis Khan right now.
Threats?
Brady.
Sure, go for it.
Commander-in-Chief
don't
facts, bro.
Diminish and demean the United States of America in this way.
Ay.
For those over age 60, a major banking regulation that took effect this month has changed the rules of retirement.
That brilliant rescue was described by the Secretary of Defense and by General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as a long-standing American military rule of never leaving anyone behind.
We leave no man behind.
Okay, well.
That is, of course, the old-school version of the idea back when only men flew American military planes. General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, put it this way.
We leave no one behind.
The general knows, unlike Pete Hegseth, that could have been a woman they were trying to rescue.
What?
And it might be a woman the next time.
That's what they're doing with their day out here. That's what... Wow. What the fuck, y'all? That wasn't AI. That was real. A real life thing. We really just did that. A real fucking news report, y'all. What the fucking hell? Whew. Okay.
Tired of your devices spying on you?
That one was...
Discover privacy-focused technology, training, and support you can trust.
We're hitting the 2-hour mark. Already over 11,000, guys.
Now lawmakers
Double
are
tap,
trying to
hit that
turn
like
that shared
button.
goal into policy. At least one is.
Exactly.
And hopefully Democrats will flash back and understand that you still agree with this. It's a bipartisan bill known as the Dignity Act. It promises tougher enforcement and worker protections while offering certain undocumented immigrants legal status without citizens if they pass background checks, pay taxes, and stay employed. Supporters are calling it reform, while critics are calling it amnesty. Let's ask the Republican New York Congressman Michael Lawler, who co-sponsored the bill, and Democratic immigration attorney Michael Wilds, who is the immigration attorney of Melania Trump. Welcome to both of you guys. Great to see you. Tell me about the Dignity Act. Expand on it, Congressman Lawler. And is there other Democratic support for this?
Yeah, Brian, this has broad bipartisan support. And in fact, this Congress, we have added significantly more co-sponsors than last, because I think folks do recognize that we have a problem. Immigration has not been reformed since 1986, the year I was born. And the fact is, our immigration system is fundamentally broken. President Trump was right to focus on securing the border, and he has effectively done that. We've had 9 straight months of net zero illegal border crossings. He was right to focus on the deportation of criminal aliens. The next step is to actually fix the broken system. This bill is common sense. It says if you've been here more than 5 years, so not the people that came under Joe Biden's disastrous administration, but the people who have been in this country more than 5 years, 10, 15, 20 years, whose children and grandchildren may in fact be American citizens, they would qualify if they have not committed a crime. They pay back taxes, they pay a fine, they have a job, and they do not collect government benefits. They would qualify for a legal status, not citizenship. They would be precluded from citizenship. But this would get people out of the shadows and start to fix the broken system so that we can address some of the major challenges. The fact is, we have over 25 million people in this country undocumented. You're not rounding them all up.
The fuck is going on?
The criminals need to go.
The fuck is going on?
Has been right to focus on that. And the last thing I'd say,
Republicans want the immigrants.
The president exposed
the fuck is going on?
Many of the Democrats during the State of the Union when they refused to stand for protecting American citizens over illegal immigrants. I want to end sanctuary city policies. Actually having a comprehensive approach here is the best way to do that and force the Democrats' hand, end the sanctuary cities, deport the criminals, secure the border, and fix our broken system.
Michael, could you get behind this? You spend your life and your family, your dad spent a life in the immigration area. Can you get behind the Dignity Act?
My late father was John Lennon's lawyer, and I had the privilege of representing Mrs. Trump. We're blessed with wonderful people that have come through America's golden doors.
Why the fuck do we Republicans want the immigrants now?
It may not be what Democrats necessarily want, but the conversation of onboarding America's talent is good business. It's very valuable for us. Not to only stop bad people from coming through the border. I'm a former federal prosecutor myself. But to also onboard foreign students who are paying tuition, and then we compete against them when they go to another country. But to onboard people into the workforce, to fix the broken immigration system. It was President Reagan, a former Democrat, who later in life as a Republican gave 3 million green cards to people in 1986 that could prove they were here unlawfully in 82. We don't have enough beds, handcuffs, and cars to move 25+ million people out. The question is, are we going to take that golden tool in our toolbox, that very DNA of America, that Lady Liberty portends, that very special thing that our founding documents and parents envisioned, and that is a country made up of people with accents, whether they pray on a Friday, a Saturday, or a Sunday, but will help build America's future together. We're not going to deport them. We need to onboard them properly.
I want you to both weigh in real quick. And Trump feels that way. There's meat packers, there's people in the service industry, farmers who have voted for Trump who said, you can't throw out my workforce. Like it or not, they're the backbone of it. And the president's talking about a long-term work visa, Mike Lawler.
The fuck is going on?
But some Republicans cringe at that
bunch of fucking immigration now? What the fuck is going on?
He's like, I'm thinking about doing something for those industries, for the illegals here who came here illegally, but maybe don't give them citizenship, but give them long-term visas. Could that be something you get behind, Mike Lawler?
Let's stop getting behind this. This is about immigration.
Of course, and again, this is what the Dignity Act does. It doesn't give them a pathway to citizenship.
What are we fucking doing here?
It gives them legal status so that they can actually continue working.
I thought you were against that.
Congressman Mike Lawler, thanks so much.
What?
We'll see
so they
what
can continue working. They're not citizens, but they're going to keep working? The fuck? The fuck? AOC.
To form a commission to study how to do reparations. Would you sign that bill?
When I am elected president, I will sign that bill.
Of course I would sign it. I would.
Yes, I would.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change.
A hierarchy of values in this country
what the fuck is going
that diminishes certain people based on their color of the skin.
We are over-policed as a society. That we are investing in police, which is not solving problems, but making them worse.
What's the fucking jobs we're not doing? I would like to know. You're making this bullshit up.
Financial aid
I wish I was independent. Don't spam the chat. Make sure you just do it. Say it once, man. Say it once. Oh, go try to get a job in any other country. See how that works out. Exactly.
AI tech war.
Exactly. But apparently, it's like offensive to say that here. Joe Kent, the new Michael Cohen.
Running on fumes by
new Michael Cohen over here, guys. New Michael Cohen drops.
Great news this evening that there's been a
great news,
ceasefire
traitor.
agreed upon tentatively between us and the Iranians. It's unconfirmed yet if the Iranians have accepted this deal as well, but I hope that they have. It's absolutely essential that we ensure that the Israelis do not sabotage this to a ceasefire or eventually the lasting peace. That
Why are you still talking? I thought you quit.
Iranians. We're on the cusp of being able to have the Strait of Hormuz reopened to hopefully start to get.
You're not part of this anymore, are you?
Supply and commerce back online.
Why are you updating
the last
us?
thing we need is the Israelis.
Are you classified to say this?
Past negotiations and targeting the negotiators.
Aren't you being investigated
right
now?
A series of strikes that escalates the conflict in order to ensure that we can restrain.
Did your book author tell you had to say this?
Removing features of the military support that we give to them. We have to take away enough from them that they simply cannot go on the offense, that they're using all their military capabilities that we provide for them.
When does the book come out?
For the
when is the Rachel Maddow interview?
Not for offensive operations inside of Iran. It's absolutely critical that we take this.
What's the book called? Is it called Trump is the Real Devil?
Agreed to this ceasefire simply because they have a very bad track record.
Trump is not my daddy. Is that what it's called?
Deals. We also have to keep in mind that Israel has a different strategic outcome than we do.
Oh, do
Us
they?
working towards any kind of a deal.
Thanks for the information, sir.
Works against the Israeli.
I thought you quit. Why are you still here?
Of toppling this government.
Are you supposed to be on vacation or quitting or whatever?
That in order to properly address
doing
Israel,
an interview about
could
Trump being
spoil any
sucking
peace
dick
that
or
President
something.
Trump is working to achieve. So we have to keep that in mind. It's very good news. We took this ceasefire. We have to understand that there is no military solution to the conflict right now.
Bro says there's avocado farm in Mexico if you need a job,
man. It's only strengthened the regime, and it's done.
I think he thinks this is his job now. I think he thinks that
region and to take away the
we need him to tell us what's going on or something.
Commerce of all the energy, and oil, and natural gas.
I think Joe Ken thinks he's a reporter now, or
so we have to keep our main objective in mind. It's getting that lasting peace, and we will be the more powerful nation for providing that.
But
lasting
you're not
peace
part of this. You quit.
We will not gain a more powerful position by continuing to escalate the conflict or continuing to strike Iran. In order for us to achieve this goal,
is he just like holding out? He's like holding out, hoping that like he can become president or something somehow.
We have to restrain the Israelis. We have to keep that in mind. So I continue to pray for peace. Pray for President Trump.
You need to have a podcast if you have these opinions. You can't just post a video.
Negotiations.
It's not how it works,
men
bro.
And women downrange in harm's way. Thank you. God bless.
Fuck this guy. He didn't even have a podcast. He just fucking posts a 3-minute video, make us fucking listen to him. Asshole. What an asshole.
Right now, at
on to another
Steak
asshole.
Company. Get 8 free 8-ounce gourmet steak burgers and our premium steak seasoning, plus free shipping.
50 minutes left. We are going into overtime, guys, though. Overtime.
I mean, they just keep pushing people right into our state. I mean, I'm beginning to worry that it's going to get a little too crowded here.
Well, I mean, this guy, this mayor in New York, he said he's running on affordability. You know, he was attacking the billionaires, but he wants to raise property taxes on police officers. He wants to say $750,000, which you're right. You're not living high on the hog in New York, of all places, with that. But I will tell you, this California wealth tax, I've never seen a mere proposal. It hasn't even been passed yet. I've never seen just a proposal spark so much change in behavior. And some of the folks that have moved to Florida, I mean, very big names, obviously massive net worth, but they want to take 5% of wealth, which is a bad enough tax. It's stupid, it's counterproductive. But they impute your voting rights. So if you have shares in a company, but then you have way more voting rights, they act like you own all those shares in equity, and then you're supposed to pay tax on it. Nobody is going to sign up for that. And so
playing the governor of Florida off
yet again,
get the fuck off our program, bro. Hannity is more important than you. It's wild.
Hello, I am Douglas
the people of Iran, says
of
Mr.
the new
Levin.
2026.
At least a decade, as far as I can see. But it's more complicated than that. And hopefully, if we can get arms in the hands of the people, they'll take over. I'll give you the last word. We have about 30 seconds.
That to me is very key. I've been talking about that in multiple appearances here and on radio. We have to arm the people. Because if we're not going to do regime change, they need to have the ability to do it. Reagan did it in Afghanistan. He did it in Nicaragua. He did it in Honduras. He did it in Angola. Donald Trump can do exactly the same thing. Somehow, some way, those people need to be able to get armed and need to take their future into their own hands. And I think they will.
What the fuck? Why are we still listening to this guy? Why are these people still alive? What's going on? Why is this happening?
On January 1st, 2026, the global financial system officially shifted, while the mainstream media...
We're not doing regime change. Everybody says no regime change. Okay. Then the regime survives in one form or another. The fundamentals survive. And so the question is, how do we keep this enemy, this poison, this cancer, these Islamist radicals, 7th century barbarians, how do we keep them in a box? And that's what we have to figure out. If we're not going to completely take them out because of the huge isolationist strain in the Democrat Party, among the woke right, but again, MAGA, the Republicans are behind the president. But if we can't do it because of the political wins, if we can't do it because of other reasons, then how are we going to keep them in a box? It can't be just peace in our time. We have a 10-point deal and they've agreed to this, this, this. I just think it's going to be very, very complicated, very, very difficult. And I would say this to the President of the United States. I personally know that you will do the right thing, that you're going to try and make sure that it works for now and forever. And so I have complete faith in this man because he's brought us to this point where he's blown out their nuclear systems, where he's taking out or trying to take out all the enrichment, where he is not taking them at their word, where he has used our military in one of the most brilliant, spectacular military campaigns in American history. I'm glad he's there as President of the United States. There's some very complicated and difficult issues on the table, and I think if anyone can handle it, he can handle it. But this enemy, make no mistake, they are the enemy. They're not going to go away if there's not regime change. And we're going to have to figure out, and it's not going to be easy, how to keep our foot on their throat. It's not going to be easy, especially since we change administrations typically every 4 or 8 years.
The real reason you're stiff after sitting.
You can live a very long time without.
But on the broader issue of not allowing Islamist groups to get public money from things in Florida, whether it's education or any of the other things that we're doing, you've got to draw a very clear red line. And the red line I've drawn is we'll spend millions on public safety, millions on education, but not 1 cent for jihad. And so we have to identify groups that are supporting these organizations. And it may not be that they're personally committing attacks, but if they're funding them or providing material support, that's something that our state has got to recognize and then act appropriately. And then the legislation I did also has a firm ban on any use of Sharia law, not just at the state level. We don't want to end up like Europe where they have no-go zones, where you have these little subcultures where this stuff's imposed. That now is totally off the table.
Jesus, forgive me. The end. What the fuck are you talking about? You can't be a Christian and a Trump supporter. That's like the most retarded thing ever. Be whatever you want in a Christian. It's the point. Fundamental fucking forgiveness, bro. Paper
Trisha Heaton looks great at 67. Here is her
Paper
#1
mache
secret.
Regular milk
or oat milk?
Oh, regular milk.
Iranians have to know that they're being beaten and beaten badly here. I would imagine that they should be pretty close to making any deal if they want to survive at all.
Fighting faces.
And that's the calculation they're looking at right now. We proved we can and will crush them. And it's kind of interesting, the same deal's been on the table for this entire time. And all of a sudden now they're going to go ahead and accept it. What changed? What changed was President Trump threatening to end the Islamic Republic completely. And I think that was an eye-opener. They believed him, and they should believe him. And I think I have a question for all the people who were losing their minds today and howling. That President Trump should be hauled out of the White House in shackles and frog-marched away to be tried for war crimes.
Hit that like button. You just joined
now
us.
that
We got
it worked,
4 likes till we
now
hit
that
50.
hyperbolic rhetoric stopped an additional escalation, is he going to get an apology from them? I doubt it. What he's going to get is the opportunity to prove to everyone that they had a plan, they worked the plan, they destroyed the capabilities and the will of the enemy, and now we're going to the negotiating table to give a peace that can work and security for the region.
What do you say to the Democrats who want to impeach?
This is how to drain stuck mucus from your lungs fast.
Why would anybody choose to
Take a look at these two lung scans. They both look healthy.
Why
but one is from
Trump just got Iran to cry uncle. They've been calling him crazy for making threats, but guess the threats
message deleted.
The Strait's on its way to being
Looks
opened,
like
and Iran's promising to stop firing missiles and drones. The next 24 hours will be the test. If oil tankers start sailing through, we're on our way to officially ending this and hitting the president's 6-week time frame. If they play games, back to bridge and power plant day. The mullahs should know better. Their economy's in a depression. Heavy industry like steel, petrochemicals, and their military-industrial complex have been obliterated. People were already taking to the streets during the last economic crisis, and now it's 10 times worse. All morning, we were peppering their crown jewel, Karg Island. That's something Iran can't afford to lose.
Well,
and our B-52s are already on their way to theater today, but Iran had no choice. The New York Times is also reporting China begged the Iranians to take the deal, saying their economy couldn't take it anymore. The regime was backed into a corner, and the president believed that sending in soldiers to open up the strait and seize Karg wouldn't be wise and was a last resort.
Go lose a few pounds and enjoy those midterms, haha. All right. I mean, fat chicks don't really work. 312, guys. Go check it out in the feature films if you're a member. $3 a month. You too can become a member. Michael was hidden by... Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
This is the quickest way to clear out tar, mucus, and phlegm. Did you know phlegm and mucus is linked to lung?
Did Iran buckle? Do you believe that they will keep the strait open as they negotiate an end to this?
They probably will, because it's in their interest to delay and rearm, re-equip, maybe get more missiles from China in the meantime.
Drying out,
but the real question is, do they feel defeated? A good analogy is in World War I, the Germans lost, but they did not feel defeated, and they came back to World War II 20 years later. But after World War II, the Germans were utterly and totally defeated, and 80 years later, they have no appetite for war. So the big question will come during the negotiations, and we'll find out whether they feel defeated, whether this is a ploy, as your previous guest just speculated on, to just delay and rearm, because you cannot trust them. That's absolutely the case.
Can't trust them. No, you can't. No, you can't. Can't trust them.
This is a lung killer. This is a lung killer. This is a lung killer. Stuck mucus keeps healthy lungs.
I don't trust the Iranians at all. The president doesn't trust them either. He's negotiated with them time and time again. He knows they're liars and cheats. So this comes down to the deal itself and what's in it and the verification for it. The Iranians are experts at obfuscating and delaying deals, and they lie and promise and don't deliver. So there's a lot wrapped up in the deal. My preference would have been to keep the war going as leverage to make that deal. But we are where we are now, and we're in a ceasefire. And it comes down to all the points in making that deal, for sure.
War has been going on since the beginning of time. History repeats itself. Repeats itself over and over and over again.
I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was 22. That was in 2002, so I've had this disease.
By the way, that's it. It's fun moment.
Yeah.
It's also kind of illustrative of our relationship with various parts of Europe.
Sure.
Received well in Hungary, denied in France.
Yeah, Eastern Europe gets it. Eastern Europeans understand what totalitarian states and what tyranny looks like. Poland, Hungary, they understand, and in fact, they're very receptive to President Trump because they know he's been standing alongside of him. I mean, he said great things about Viktor Orban, the president. By the way, side note on the president, has there ever been a more accessible president?
No.
I mean, I pick up the phone and call the president picks it up. I once called him at 8 p.m. to thank him for something, forgetting he was in London. And he picked it up at 2 o'clock in the morning. The president is very accessible. He literally picked it up. Hello, Chip. This is a guy that is full of energy. He's out there fighting for America. But the Eastern Europeans get it. And I'm glad he called over there. Look, that's an important election. They're holding the line on the massive immigration influx, the issue we just talked about with respect to Islam.
Yes.
They're actually holding the line to prevent the total fall of Europe while we're watching France and the UK close to falling along with Germany.
That is absolutely.
Right now at Chicago Steak Company. Get 8 free 8-ounce gourmet steak burgers and our premium steak.
So after the 2024 election, I think one of the things that Democrats told themselves is we got to get out there. We got to be on more podcasts. And they're using that excuse to explain their association.
Yeah, and what did Republicans do? They just stuck a fucking podcast mic on their Fox News fucking segment and call it a day.
With people like Hassan Piker.
Well, look, I think what we're seeing with Piker is just an indication of where the Democratic Party is today, where they are currently. I will give at least a little credit to Haley Stevens, who seemed to at least partially distance herself. She's a colleague of mine. But, El Sayed, who you just talked about, was openly embracing it. And this is, I think, a pretty equal race. I mean, he's certainly polling somewhere around 30% and has a real shot at being, I think, the first Muslim United States senator. This is something we're seeing in the significant march of Islam across the United States, something that's been concerning to me and a lot of my colleagues as we've created the Sharia Free America Caucus. My friend Keith Self, local congressman from Collin County, just north of here, dealing with Epic City. But also what we've been seeing, obviously, with Mamdani, who you just showed the clip, where Mamdani is sitting there saddling up with Piker. There's no shame here in dealing with someone who literally just said that he wasn't going to be concerned about rapes after October 7th. I mean, what kind of a human being is that? Let's put aside the absurdity of saying that America deserved it on 9/11. He's literally justifying or ignoring rapes in a post-October 7th world. This is something that is fully out of touch with most Americans. But unfortunately, it's very indicative of the move of the Democratic Party towards this side and this radicalization and the march of Islam throughout America.
I'm going to put Hassan Piker on Fox News. All right. More podcasts.
Rumble Wallet just changed the
Democrats
creator
this time.
economy.
Kind of a game changer.
Watch this
Big
on
news.
Piker's
Tip
show,
your favorite
Democrats.
creators in crypto.
I'm 33 years old.
Yeah, we're the same age, which is crazy because I'm a loser and you're running for mayor of New York. That's wild.
I went to Japan recently and I got both of you guys gifts. This one's for you. This is a Palestinian movement in Japan.
This is your third time on the stream.
But the first time in your studio.
Yeah, the first time
which is
ever.
all in like Christmas holiday spirit. I didn't know that. I didn't know you had the Christmas spirit.
So AOC, Bernie Sanders, Mamdani, and then at the end there you saw Ro Khanna, congressman, who today, after you heard, was on that stream for 3 different occasions, was asked about his association with Piker.
Why would you not dissociate yourself from Hassan Piker? Why?
Well, first of all, I have gone on every media podcast. I go on Theo Von. I've gone on Sean Ryan.
You're going to go on Alex Jones?
I would not go on Alex Jones, but Hassan
just
Piker.
as bad.
No, but Hassan Piker, I have criticized some of his statements. I have said that, of course, America didn't deserve 9/11 and that we were justified in attacking Al-Qaeda. I have said that I do not agree with anti-Semitism, but there are a lot of people that Hassan Piker speaks to who are upset with the war in Gaza.
Wonder why views are nosediving. Exactly.
I've been an autoimmune sufferer for most of my life. The most recent autoimmune that I had.
I got it.
Go ahead, Adam, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You talk about the bundles of cash. I mean, Trump lifted oil sanctions to the tune of $14 billion for Iran in the middle of this war. So I don't think that's a particularly consistent position.
Joe Biden allowed hundreds of billions of dollars to go to the Iranian regime. Give me a break, Adam. You are so full of it. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing,
I
Adam.
wouldn't let anybody else speak.
Yikes, that was a good one. Oof.
Well, Jesse, as anticipated, the sirens are now wailing over Tel Aviv, indicating that another missile is inbound. And it looks like those bright lights in the sky are the missiles. And it looks like you can see an interceptor that is in hot pursuit of the missiles. And it's always quite dramatic when you see those interceptors going after it.
And these ones might disappear behind our building here, and we're going to lose sight of them. But they're still quite lethal and coming into Tel Aviv. And I didn't see an interception in this case. Should be able to hear it in a second or so. And it's still quite lethal when there's an interception. Most of what we see out here are those cluster bombs in recent days. But when you get a conventional warhead with that powerful explosion, obviously you hold.
Okay, now here's the thing, guys. We are going to now look through the last 12 hours with our number one war news source, Mo News, Mosheh, on the Instagrams. If you want to follow his stories, he is the number one provider of war updates. He helped us yesterday understand that it was a Pakistan deal that was declared publicly that Trump accepted. Then after Trump accepted it, Iran accepted it on behalf of China, who recommended that Iran start to negotiate with America. Now, here we are 12 hours ago, and we're going to pick up from there. 12 hours ago, Trump floats a joint U.S.-Iran toll for the Strait of Hormuz. We'll get to the Hegseth press conference in a second. 10 hours ago, most ships are not moving through Strait of Hormuz yet. The Greek-owned bulk carrier New Jersey Earth and the Libertarian-flagged Daytona Beach were the first to cross the strait earlier Wednesday, according to Marina Traffic. They were the only vessels that have crossed the strait since the ceasefire was announced. There are more than 2,000 tankers and cargo ships awaiting to pass. In the waterway Wednesday morning, Iran was telling ships anchored near the strait to obtain permission from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' Navy before crossing or risk being destroyed. Crew members stuck in the Persian Gulf said the warplanes are still present and they haven't received any clear guidance from Iran or their local agents on whether it is safe to pass. That was via Wall Street Journal. 9 hours ago, to clarify, this is what Strait of Hormuz feels like right now. People trying to get through. 8 hours ago, the Israelis launched a massive airstrikes against Hezbollah targets in Beirut, Lebanon, Wednesday. They say the Iran-sponsored terror group had a command center and intel center in a residential part of the city. Israel issued evacuation orders ahead of the strikes for the neighborhood. Lebanon says 89 people were killed and hundreds were injured. The latest Israel-Hezbollah war started several weeks ago after the group started launching missiles on Israel. 8 hours ago, Trump says he is cool with Israel continuing to attack Hezbollah. Update, Iran halts Hormuz oil tanker traffic after Israel's Lebanon attacks. Iranian media says Iran is now halting oil tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz again after Israeli strikes in Lebanon. It also says it won't come to planned in-person talks set for Friday in Pakistan unless Israel stops attacking their proxy group Hezbollah. 8 hours ago. One major point of contention here, Israel and the U.S. say war on Hezbollah will continue and is not part of the ceasefire. Iran and Pakistan say it is part of the ceasefire. So Pakistan is saying it's part of the ceasefire, it's supposed to be part of the ceasefire, which is exactly what I said earlier. I said that's bullshit. J.D. Vance saying that was some bullshit. Here we are now. 8 hours ago, Trump gives China credit for getting Iran to make a deal. President Trump says Tuesday he believed China had persuaded Iran to negotiate after it announced a 2-week halt in the bombing of Iran in return for its reopening of Strait of Hormuz. I hear yes, that they were, Trump told AFP when asked if China was involved in getting its key ally Iran to negotiate shortly before the deadline he had set for the bombing key infrastructure in Iran. Citing 3 Iranian officials, the New York Times also said Iran accepted the Pakistani mediated ceasefire following a last-minute intervention by China, which asked Iran to show flexibility and diffuse tensions amid concerns of economic fallout. Trump is already set to travel to Beijing in May. 8 hours ago, we talked on Tuesday's podcast about the increasing concerns about a young man. Oh, there's gambling, okay. 8 hours ago, it is not clear what the state of Iran's command and control structure is Right now, there are units dispersed across Iran, but attacks on neighboring countries continue. Gulf Arab nations report a barrage of Iranian attacks since the ceasefire via the New York Times. Persian Gulf countries have continued to report dozens of Iranian missiles and drone attacks on Wednesday, even after the ceasefire was declared between the United States and Iran. Kuwait's army said in a statement on Wednesday that since 8 a.m. local time, the country had faced 28 Iranian drone attacks, some of which had targeted vital oil and power facilities and caused extensive damage. In the United Arab Emirates, the defensive ministry reported 17 ballistic missiles and 35 drone attacks launched by Iran since the beginning of the ceasefire, and the Saudi Defense Ministry said on Wednesday afternoon that it had intercepted 9 drones in recent hours without naming an attacker. It was unclear why the attacks were continuing despite the truce and the beginning of what President Trump called a big day for the war on peace. 8 hours ago, Iran targets key Saudi pipeline. A key Saudi oil pipeline to the Red Sea was hit in the Iranian drone attack hours after a ceasefire in the war. A pumping station along with the route was targeted, and the damage is still being assessed. The east-west pipeline has served as a vital lifeline for getting oil from Saudi Arabia's vast fields along the Persian Gulf to western Red Sea coast, effectively bypassing the Strait of Hormuz. The kingdom has cranked up flows through the link of full capacity, allowing close to 5 million barrels a day to be exported, or about 70% of the pre-war levels. And they just struck it. So now we can't do that either. The Pakistanis would like a word. Violations of ceasefire have been reported at few places across the conflict zones, which undermine the spirit of the peace process. I earnestly and sincerely urge all parties to exercise restraint and respect the ceasefire for 2 more weeks as agreed to upon, so that the diplomacy can take a lead role towards peaceful statements of the conflict. And he added the heads of the Iranian thing, and then he added Steve Witkoff, the head of China, Rubio, J.D. Vance, and Donald Trump. That was the president of Pakistan that said that. 8 hours ago, if you aren't losing weight, oh no, that's that. Okay, okay. 7 hours ago, inside is Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu being criticized across the political pendulum for a war that many inside the country didn't do enough damage to Islamic regime and didn't lead to regime change. At the same time, the Israeli government is frustrated that Trump agreed to a deal they aren't happy with. Israeli elections are set for this fall. 6 hours ago, Iran says they will continue launching on entire region unless Israel stops bombing Hezbollah in Lebanon. Iran reportedly told mediators that its talks with the U.S. in Islamabad hinge on a ceasefire in Lebanon, warning it could also reserve the Strait of Hormuz reopening, Wall Street Journal reports. Mediators added Iran would continue strikes on regional targets, including Israel, if attacks on Lebanon and Iran persist. Update Pakistan meme. Okay. 6 hours ago, we should note Pakistan has had its own war with Afghanistan in the recent months. Pakistan, which declared in February it was in open war with its neighbors, has also carried out its own airstrikes inside Afghanistan, including in the capital of Kabul. China's government said Wednesday Afghanistan and Pakistan have agreed not to escalate their conflict and to explore a comprehensive solution. After several weeks of cross-border fighting between the two countries that has killed hundreds of people, NBC News. 6 hours ago, ceasefire mess. It is not clear that the 10-point plan the U.S. and Iran are discussing as a basis for peace. Iran published a plan. The U.S. says it's not the plan being discussed. Levitt also wouldn't answer who controls the Strait of Hormuz at the moment. No, that's not. Trump will. No. 5 hours ago, U.S. President J.D. Vance says the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. He calls this a legitimate misunderstanding, but says that the Israelis will check themselves in Lebanon in the coming days. And then that's it. All right, guys. Let's check in on, this is our little segment that we've been watching every day. Right now, double tap, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. We've got about 23 minutes left of the show, 12,000, so this is going to stay public. It's not going to go members only in the VOD, but we are at 22 members. If we want to stay into that overtime, remember, we can stay into overtime. If we get back above 50 live viewers, we will go into that 4th hour of overtime. Otherwise, the show will end in its public form.
In response to nearly 2 months.
Right now, we're going to check out. So far, we have watched how the U.S. stole the Middle East, Iran-Iraq war mapped, how to sell a war to the Americans, why this country was erased, how Benjamin Netanyahu came to power, the rise of Hezbollah, the war in Yemen mapped, and right now the most important country you've never heard of is the next section we're watching. We are watching this is a 3-hour piecemeal, guys. Johnny Harris, The Modern Middle East Explained, guys. I highly recommend that everybody check that out. We're going to check out the most important country you've never heard of, our next little chapter in this little saga.
Attacks by the Iran-backed Houthi movement on cargo ships in the Red Sea.
It is becoming more and more important for the global rivalries and tensions that are heating up on our globe right now. It is this choke point in the Red Sea.
Our boats and Iranian regime is approving passage.
It's pretty small, it's a few dozen kilometers wide, but through this little choke point flows a lot of important things. The internet, millions of barrels of oil per day, 30% of all container ships that connect global markets. And this choke point is surrounded by unstable situations, countries that are in civil wars, rebel militias, proxy wars, unstable governments, failed states, and pirates. In recent decades, pirates have hijacked thousands of ships here, extracting hundreds of millions of dollars in ransoms, a topic we did a whole deep dive on in another video. And lately, as war has raged in the Gaza Strip, the fiercely anti-Western Houthi rebels in Yemen have been firing rockets at cargo ships traveling through this water, leading the US and UK to strike back.
A ship attacked by Iran-backed Houthi rebels last month sank in the Red Sea.
The region is vital, yet volatile all at once. And yet, in the middle of all of this is this one beacon of stability. A little piece of land that is easy to miss, but that is more important than you might think. It is the country of Djibouti.
Oh, Djibouti! Hey!
Djibouti is this small, arid country right on the choke point. And it is home to the militaries of the United States, of several European powers, of Japan. Japan's only foreign military base, by the way. And right down the road from the American base, China's first military base outside of its country.
Even China? God damn, y'all.
Qatar has peacekeepers here. The United Arab Emirates ran the biggest port. Eritrea seized some of its territory recently. And Ethiopia, one of the largest countries in Africa, runs almost all of its trade through Djibouti. Damn. Ethiopia's landlocked, and this is their gateway to the world. It's a lot. Wow. Djibouti is a lot. There's a lot going on in Djibouti, which is why today we are talking about this place. I want to explore why so many powers want to be here. Why everyone is converging on this little tiny patch of land the size of New Jersey. And I want to ask if little Djibouti, one of the poorest countries in the world, can balance all these rival powers against each other without falling victim to them.
10 to 15% of global trade moves through the Red Sea.
We will not hesitate to defend lives and the free flow of commerce.
This little choke point is called the Bab al-Mandeb, or Gate of Tears. It used to be nothing but a recipe for shipwrecks. It was known mostly for strong winds, unpredictable cross currents, and shallow reefs that made navigating it dangerous. And it wasn't very valuable, because if you go through it, you just end up in the Red Sea, which was a dead end for most of history. That is, until a French company miraculously cut a canal through this part of Egypt and changed the world forever, nearly halving the time that it would take for Europeans to get to Asia, where they were all racing each other to conquer, colonize, and bring back unfathomable wealth to their countries. The Suez Canal was a massive upgrade to this hunt for resources. Was this video kind of an excuse for me to buy these really old, beautiful books about the Suez Canal? Yes, it was. For France, this engineering miracle called the Suez Canal was their chance to beat out their big rival, the British Empire, who was clearly winning the race, dominating the routes to Asia before Suez opened. The canal was supposed to change that. So now you have a new front in this race, a scramble for control over this new route to Asia. This windy little choke point was no longer just the Gate of Tears. It was an important bit of water, one of the most important on Earth, at least for the empires. They had to keep an eye on it. So the British take this little island right at the choke point. They put a lighthouse on it. They also take control of a port just south of the choke point. The Italians then show up and purchase this bit of coastline from local sultans, eventually taking over this whole stretch of coast called Eritrea. And the French would start fixating on this strip of sparsely populated coast right on the banks of the choke point, the land that would become Djibouti. The sultans here told the French that yes, they could have a bit of this newly strategic land in exchange for protection. The locals here knew what was going on. The great empires were all scrambling and racing, and they were going to use their prime real estate to get what they wanted, to leverage the situation. Smart, and totally a theme throughout this video. So the French set up their colony. They call it Côte Française des Somalie, or French Somaliland. This choke point would become a key base for projecting power French and refueling on their way to carve up and plunder Asia.
Like the new name for Mall of America.
France would hold on to their little colonial invention for a long time. Even as the world would decolonize after World War II, France held on to this strategic colony along the choke point. Until eventually, the locals rose up, there were protests, they clashed with the local authorities, and it led to an independence vote. And in 1977, Djibouti became a new country.
They named it Djibouti themselves? It's pretty wild.
Djibouti was independent, but they had a problem. In the words of some New York Times reporting from 1977, the tiny new nation had no army, less than 1 square mile of arable land, and no resources except for sand, salt, and 20,000 camels. Yeah, not good. So, once again, they made a deal with France. Djibouti wouldn't be France's anymore, but they would be allowed to retain a military base in the country in exchange for security and protection, as well as economic aid. But this didn't change the fact that Djibouti had very little natural resources or arable land. Their economy fell into a crippling depression. Eventually, there was a civil war, and it wasn't looking good for Djibouti. Djibouti's salvation would eventually come when they realized that they should harken back to the old days and start exploiting the thing that had made them valuable all those years ago: their location.
Let's go! Go, Matt, go! Stop shooting, Matt,
The plane has crashed into the World Trade Center.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
3 months after 9/11, the United States was about to come crashing into the Middle East in a new way, and they asked Djibouti if they could set up a base there. And Djibouti says yes.
Suddenly, after the global war on terror, America realizes that it's one of the key locations. It matters to be there. You had, Al-Qaeda in Yemen, you had Al-Qaeda in even Horn of Africa. So they needed a base, and Djibouti was one country which was willing to offer them.
It would become America's only permanent military base on the continent of Africa, and it would be a key jumping off point for George Bush's war on terror. And reminder that it's now the 21st century. things have changed in the world, and this little choke point was becoming more valuable again, but for different reasons than the old days. Number 1. The world had become addicted to fossil fuels. Oil and gas, which was the lifeblood of their economies. And most of that oil and gas was coming from over here, from the land and waters of the countries around this Persian Gulf, where it was then put on ships and sent around the world, a lot of it heading west, through this vital choke point, up the Red Sea, into the Suez Canal, and onto Europe. The world knew that their energy was vulnerable because Egypt, in earlier decades, had weaponized the canal by closing it, by blocking it. One time for 8 years, inflicting immediate pain on the countries that rely on this constant flow of energy and goods. By the way, semi-side note, this flow of energy becomes even more important when Europe almost entirely cuts ties with Russian natural gas after Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. So they have to get more natural gas from this region. Qatar was not sad about that, just put it that way. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Europe needs this route to stay stable. They need these little dots to keep flowing. So that's one reason that the choke point has become more vital than ever. The other reason is China. China rose to become a manufacturing superpower. They make a lot of stuff and they send it to the West, and a lot of that comes through this choke point. And all of this vital trade is happening in a region that is full of unstable governments, rising anti-Western militias, and Somali pirates, making this route precarious and dangerous and subject to problems. So Djibouti has become this vital place here at the choke point, an incredibly important strategic location in a sea of turmoil. Okay, but there's more. In addition to all of this global economy importance, there's also regional importance to Djibouti. Notice Djibouti's neighbor, Ethiopia, the second most populous country in Africa, and, as you can see, one that is totally landlocked. It is not good to be a big country that is landlocked, because the water is where we trade. So, Djibouti is the gateway to Ethiopia's millions of people to trade with the world. 95% of Ethiopia's trade passes through Djibouti. So Djibouti, this colonial creation from France in the 1880s, is now, once again, an incredibly important place on the map. It's become, once again, a highly strategic location. And when there are highly strategic locations, superpowers start moving in. In 2011, Djibouti approved Japan, a pacifist, sort of non-military country, to open a military base on Djibouti, their one and only foreign military base. Then you have Italy, who set up a military base here in 2013. Spain and Germany also have a military presence here. They are not permanently hosted with a base, they're actually hosted by France. And the soldiers live in these hotels permanently. Okay, that's not weird at all. But yeah, as you can see, the great powers are back. They're back in Djibouti like the old days. Not to compete with one another, but to all band together to police this vital choke point so that the global economy that has brought prosperity to all of us can stay stable, everything keeps flowing, everyone is happy. And this solved a big problem for Djibouti, who again, didn't have a big industry or any kind of resource. They make a lot of money off of these leases to foreign countries, which has helped build their economy. And, like the old days, when one side shows up, the rival won't be far behind.
China has agreed to set up a support base in Djibouti.
So the Chinese base is right here, and they are going to be watching us as we're watching them.
In 2016, Djibouti announces that they've been talking to China and that they've agreed to give them land to open their own military base, which was built and opened right down the road from the American base in 2017. So China says they're there because of pirates. Pirates have been wreaking havoc in this area, so they're there to stabilize their economic interests because of pirates. But as we discovered in our deep dive on pirates, by 2017, the pirate issue was basically over. There was almost no hijackings in this region. I mean, look at this graph. Oh, and the Chinese base has this big, deep pier that is like large enough to handle an aircraft carrier and nuclear submarines. So this isn't about pirates. China also did the most China thing when they moved in here, which was instead of just building a base, they also came with all of these big ticket infrastructure projects as like gifts to win the favor of the locals. We're talking railway, pipeline, port, all very expensive, all putting Djibouti into a lot of debt to China. They're doing this all over Africa, which we talk about in another deep dive video we did on the topic, mapping all of China's giant infrastructure projects in Africa and what that means. And a lot of shout outs to other videos today, huh? So Djibouti is now the only place on Earth where the United States and China, these two rivals, have military bases right next to each other. And so far, everyone's been playing nice. There's been no shenanigans, other than both sides accusing each other of spying on each other constantly. Oh, and there was the lasers. The US says that China was pointing lasers into the eyes of pilots while they were taking off. Which, like, if they really did that, that's just like, why would you do that? Like, why did you do that? Don't do that. Okay, but Djibouti doesn't let every country in. Russia wanted to have their own base in Djibouti, and Djibouti said no. It probably helped that the American National Security Advisor flew to Djibouti and told them that the US would double how much they're paying for their lease if Djibouti didn't let Russia in.
Very US
Okay,
thing
but
to do.
what about the people? Djibouti isn't just one big military base. There's almost 1 million people who live here. And their day-to-day probably consists of a lot of jet engine sounds. We got to talk to my old grad school professor, David Vine, who is an expert on US military bases and how they affect the locals.
So what we were talking about is a foreign government, foreign military, occupying large swaths of land, fenced off, and hosting large amounts of weaponry, high-powered weaponry of many kinds.
Que tu ne peux rien faire, que tu n'as pas la force nécessaire pour les dégager de ton territoire. Là, c'est un risque pour la souveraineté et pour le peuple.
Because these bases are so close to, like, the big city, there have been accidents, especially with drones. The US used to take off their drones and some would fall and actually crash onto, like, civilian infrastructure. So they had to open a separate airstrip.
Si dans l'armée américaine, les voitures des armées américaines ont écrasé des cheptels ou des bétails ou des chameaux qui appartenaient à la population qui habite pas loin de leur base militaire.
Apart from occasionally running over cows, the soldiers mostly keep to themselves. US soldiers don't even go into the city to, like, buy stuff. All of it is flown in, creating a little slice of America right in Djibouti. Like, they don't even drink the water from Djibouti. It's all flown in.
C'est les jeudis soirs qu'on appelle nous les jeudis soirs. Parce que comme il y avait des nightclubs, les légionnaires, surtout les légionnaires des Français sortaient le jeudi, ils avaient journée libre et ils venaient dans les nightclubs. Et quand ils ont abusé l'alcool, après il y avait toujours à leur sortie des nightclubs, il y avait toujours des problèmes. Le plus grand problème venait de là en fait.
And then there's the dictator.
Well, I want to welcome President Gilley and his delegation here today.
The US base in particular, but also the French and Chinese bases, which are the largest of the collection, are all helping to prop up.
No, everybody is there to fuck everybody over. It's business and money. They don't care about the other shit.
Democratic regime that has, been accused of widespread human rights abuses.
Every time a foreign power makes a deal with Djibouti and pays them a lot of money in exchange for them being able to be there, they basically validate this terrible dictator who's been in power for 25 years. There's no real elections, free press, freedom of speech, plenty of human rights abuses. But on the other side, there's at least one way that regular people in Djibouti benefit from all of this. Fewer people go hungry today than at the conclusion of the Civil War. And even though the economy is still poor, all of this foreign aid still does support it. Is that worth it to them? I don't actually know. And another version of this video that I want to do someday is to go there and talk to the people and hear what their thoughts are about the bases in Djibouti and what that feels like to live so close to all of these foreign militaries. For now, we're talking about the geography, the history, the geopolitics. Okay, speaking of geopolitics, there's another angle to this story that is devilishly complicated to get into, and I'm not going to get into all the juicy details. You'll understand why when I start talking about it. It has to do with the regional geopolitics, the rivalries and the concerns and the issues of all of these countries that are right next to Djibouti, not just the outside powers. I want to just give you a little sampling of what this looks like because it's pretty wild. So you have all these Gulf countries, and some of them are not totally on the same team, but almost all of them are thinking about the future, and they're realizing that oil is not going to be a big part of their future, because oil is not going to be a big part of any of our future, hopefully. And they're realizing that they're going to need to invest in the Horn of Africa, this region here, which they believe is probably going to be the future of their food, their future breadbasket. So hold that for a second and then look at Ethiopia and Eritrea. Ethiopia, as we mentioned, uses Djibouti as their gateway to the world. They need it to feed their millions of people. All of this geopolitics is also playing out in Djibouti, this little country that has to navigate everyone's interests. So here's a quick episode of this drama to give you an idea of what it looks like. The United Arab Emirates, UAE, used to be like best friends with Djibouti. It was like one of their most important partners. The UAE built and owned this giant port that basically runs Djibouti's entire economy. But then the UAE got really close to Djibouti's neighbor and kind of enemy, Eritrea. This was very worrisome because Djibouti doesn't want Eritrea to become the new Djibouti. They're a mortal threat. They don't want the UAE to just shut down Djibouti's like strategic offering. Okay, fast forward to like 2017. The UAE, with their close friend Saudi Arabia, are in a feud with Qatar, which also has a military presence in Djibouti, right up here on this border. Now that Qatar and the UAE are fighting with each other, they turn to Djibouti and say, hey, you are too close with the UAE. We're out of here. Qatar takes their soldiers out of this border area, and right away, Eritrea takes some of this land from Djibouti. This may seem like some petty border skirmishes, but remember where we are here. This is the vital choke point. Bab al-Mandeb. Every inch of land matters. Every little conflict could be the spark that stops the global economy. And what this little flare-up shows us is how Djibouti finds itself in the center of conflicts between other countries that it kind of doesn't want to be in the middle of, but like has found itself in the middle of, because it hosts all of their militaries. But wait, there's more. Djibouti is actually really good at this. They know how to play the game and to play all these powers off of each other, and we'll see what happens next. So they're kind of beholden to the UAE. UAE has way too much leverage over them. So finally it all comes to a head and they kick the UAE out from this really vital port. And they give a massive chunk of it to, wait for it, China, the new arrival to Djibouti that no one wants to mess with. They now have the port. And Djibouti is now on their side, and the UAE can't do anything about it. Djibouti saved itself from one power by pleasing a bigger power. Do you see how this works? Do you see what game they're playing here? So, that is why this tiny country in East Africa is so important. It's kind of the definition of geopolitics, politics happening because of geography. To project legitimacy, this choke point is only going to become more important. Day by day, we're seeing it happen. I mean, like right now as I'm filming this, the Houthi rebels are like potentially cutting internet cables in this choke point.
3 crew members have been killed in a Houthi
They're the first deaths since Houthi rebels began attacking shipping in the Red Sea.
After months of bombing merchant ships to punish the West for supporting the IDF war in Gaza. I mean, it's this kind of threat that Djibouti was set up to handle. That is why all these foreign militaries are here. And yet, for me, there is a subtler threat that is emerging here, which you can see when you just look at this map of bases.
We'll see.
Djibouti hosts rival countries during a time when we are transitioning away from a rules-based order where all the great powers have an incentive to work together under one system that is dominated by the United States that deeply benefits the United States and its allies, but that works because the United States imposes and protects those rules. Those rules are being challenged. And what is emerging is a system that is messier, more disruptive to these reliable rules that have kept everything stable, kept the United States on top. And unfortunately, we know all too well what happens when great powers start competing with each other more and more over vital resources and vital geographies. In fact, most of the history of war is what happens when great powers are competing with each other. It's ugly, it's messy, it's violent. It provokes a zero-sum way of thinking, competition, racing to secure and control and exploit vital geographies, like strategic choke points that lead into the most important waterway on the planet. As this rivalry heats up, Djibouti's role is going to become more complex. Its government will continue to do what it's done, playing the big powers off each other, exploiting its great real estate to benefit itself. But I believe that there comes a point in every escalating conflict where you kind of have to choose sides. I want Djibouti to continue to embody the positive-sum thinking that has kept the world relatively stable these last 70 years. But it's definitely playing with a very delicate balancing act, and there's a chance that it could stumble. So, as you all know, I will be keeping an eye on the global order as well as Djibouti, to try to see where this is going, to see if the great powers can continue to cooperate and compete, but cooperate, or if we're heading back into the old days, where competition threatens to rip the world apart. I don't think it's inevitable, but it's going to take effort to avoid it.
All right. Our last piece of the puzzle, guys, we will watch tomorrow, most likely, unless something crazy happens. But we got about another half an hour with this last piece, which is why Saudi Arabia is building a $1 trillion city in the desert. What? Okay. 3 hours exactly. Only 14 of you left in the chat, so that's it. End the poll. Ending the poll for the night. Gonna close this guy out here. Make sure you throw in the chat right now any recommendations you have for third-partiers. Remember, our third-partiers, again, are John Fetterman with 9%, Alex Jones with 9%. So Alex Jones was actually the lowest one. RFK, 10%. Bobby Lee, 12%. Stephen Miller, 12%. Elon Musk, 12%. Asmongold, 12%. Joe Rogan, 15%. Michelle Obama, 17%. Afroman, 20%. Tucker Carlson, 21%. Jon Stewart, 22%. Kamala Harris, 22%. Maduro? Maduro. Is it we're going to Maduro? Maduro might be a recommendation there. J.D. Vance wins for a 13th time. Gavin Newsom has won twice. The only other person that's come close is Kamala Harris and Jon Stewart, guys. Another day will happen tomorrow. This one will stay live in public. It will not go members only because we did hit that 10,000. Unfortunately, we did go below 50 way before the actual 3 hours. So we are ending the stream. 50 likes on the night. I will see you guys tomorrow. Appreciate you so much. Have a great night, everybody. Peace. Woo!